my God!
Take a goal to go from the two. Toss sweep one for James White. Cuts it up with the right arm. Cuts it upfield. Driving forward. It's diving to the goal line. It's a touchdown. And a title for the Patriots.
I can't believe it!
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hitting to right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Poppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything's possible! What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Kicking It with Kruse. I'm your host, Ben Kruse, and man, it's been a long time since I've done a show. It feels like, honestly, like an eternity, even though it's probably only been like a couple weeks. I apologize for myself not kind of being on my A game as of late here on the network. Just a lot of stuff that's been going on, but I'm glad to be back. We got a ton of stuff to talk about, and before I get into that stuff, just want to kind of quickly go over some stuff here on the network. So to make sure to follow, like, comment, and subscribe to the IM6 MI6 Sports Network. I also have it here down the ticker button. You could also follow me at BenCruz144 on my Twitter. I put a lot of stuff in terms of sports, just my overall reactions on stuff specifically. I have a lot of fun over there. You could also follow me on Facebook, specifically my Instagram at BenCruz12. I don't do really much on YouTube, but you can find a lot of stuff with me involved on YouTube. And then, of course, here on the IM6 MI6 Sports Network, you can follow that specifics on Facebook, Insta, YouTube. I'm also a part of Empty the Bench Network, which is my other network podcast, and I am a co-host for Hitting for the Cycle, which just premiered this past week. So if you guys have any type of questions on that type of stuff, I put a lot of that stuff on my Twitter, which, like I said, you guys can follow that stuff here. And just recapped some stuff on that network with football. Baseball is going to be coming up soon, and all that fun stuff. So make sure to get into all that jazz. We also have here my co-host, Isaiah Leon. Isaiah, it's been a long time since we've been back here to do Kicking with Kruse, but I'm glad to be back. I know that our other co-host, James Gonzalez, is feeling under the weather, but glad that hopefully he'll be feeling better. Isaiah, I know it's been a hot minute since the Super Bowl has been over. I honestly, if I know for you, it took you a couple days, so I kind of let you, kind of take a little break here. I took myself a little break because I've had some stuff going on, but you told me let's do a show, so I looked at myself, you know what? It's been a while. Let's kind of get back to doing something we want to talk about. So, my man, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, Ben, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Like you said, it's definitely been a long time since we did a show. I mean, the last few days, I've been like a hungry dog. I've been chomping at the bit to do a program. And, unfortunately, like whether it was other people's schedules not working out or my schedule not working out or having to do extra time at work, I mean, it just didn't work out for some reason or another. But I mean, I'm glad that we were able to do a show tonight. I know there's a lot of stuff that, I want to get off my chest. And yes, it was a really painful Super Bowl loss. Probably the most out of all the Niners Super Bowl losses that I've experienced, probably the most painful loss that I've ever experienced. But you know what? I mean, it was a great season looking back on it. It definitely was a great year. But I mean, for me, it's just like, for a lot of these fans out there that don't understand, the Niners have been to a Super Bowl, and I've been lucky enough to be able to see the 49ers in 3 Super Bowls, just like you have been able to see your Patriots in, I believe, 6 or 7. And, like when you go to a Super Bowl, when you've gone so many times, like, yeah, it's so great that your team is in it, and you should definitely enjoy the festivities. But at some point, getting to the Super, just getting there is old. And when you don't win it, that's why it hurts the most, just because of how many times we've been in the Super Bowl. So hopefully next year is the year the Niners finally break through and win it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot that's happened both in football, basketball, baseball starting up. I mean, I can't wait to get into tonight's show.
100%. And we'll try to get through kind of the football stuff first. Obviously, we'll kind of start, I would say, with the Super Bowl stuff early on to kind of, get your overall mind off of it pretty much on and early if it hasn't been already. But outside of that, we'll kind of talk about some of the offseason. Because think about Isaiah, the offseason football never sleeps. Think about it that the tag starting date is on Tuesday this week. Obviously you have the dynasty out for the Patriots, which I've gotten the chance to see on Apple TV. It's been amazing so far. They put the first two episodes out, so uh, that's kind of kept me, happy with the football season officially being over. We'll also talk about outside of NFL specifically. We'll talk also about the Kansas City Chiefs and the overall potential dynasty that we're kind of seeing at this point in time, and of course the unfortunate events that transpired during the parade, which went from a celebration essentially there in Kansas City to a fortunate event. I would like to kind of take a quick moment to talk about that. We'll talk about the NBA. Of course, the All-Star festivities were this past weekend. I do also want to talk about some of the stuff that the Lakers and the Celtics, and I know that James is in here in terms of the team reports. I know we didn't talk about the NBA trade deadline. We didn't talk about a lot of stuff that went past. So we get to quickly kind of talk about that. We could talk about a little preview of the second half of our seasons. And of course, baseball season, Isaiah. Baseball is coming back, my friend. I can't wait. Pitchers and catchers are already, back. Position players come back tomorrow. So yeah, baseball's starting to come back. So maybe a couple of these events, Isaiah, might be able to take you off your mind from the end of the football season. Even though kind of it's painful because even when the Patriots lost a couple of the Super Bowls, as tough it was for me to kind of see them lose, it's almost like damn, it's like the season's over as well. So it's just like you kind of look at it and be like, yeah, man, it just kind of sucks. But obviously, we'll kind of talk about more of the football season. Kind of start off. We also have a comment here from James Gonzalez, our co-host. Sorry, can't join. My voice is still gone from the weekend. Isaiah knows. James, my friend, it's okay. If you want to obviously tune in throughout, we greatly appreciate it. Me and Isaiah for sure can hold the fort. And if you go, of course, throughout the program, if you have any questions, comments, feel free, and I'd love to answer them for sure. All right, Isaiah, let's start really quickly with the Super Bowl. I know obviously we kind of talked off the air quite a bit about it. And obviously, for most of the game, the first couple quarters, it kind of felt like a dull Super Bowl. It didn't really feel that. Obviously, I felt like the Chiefs and the Niners kind of went back and forth. It kind of gave me that reminiscent of the Super Bowl from a couple years ago, where the Niners really in that first half had a lot of the momentum, and then the second half, as I said off the air during halftime, I said that this game is never over until Patrick Mahomes essentially is saying, I'm done. And essentially, we saw specifically on Sunday the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. And he has a very similar type of feel in terms of his greatness. I'm not saying Brady esque, but you essentially cannot, count him out from anything. And that's essentially, he was an underdog the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. And I told himself when he was essentially an underdog for the Super Bowl, I said, I'm not doing it. I'm not fighting for it. I knew for a fact that the Chiefs were going to still be able to find a way, despite the fact that Brock Purdy and that offense really pulled it together. And went back and forth. It was a really good fourth quarter. It was a really good overtime. Obviously, for myself, that had no team in the running, but just as an overall fan. Of course, for you as a fan, Isaiah, for the Niners, of course, it's tough to see, but just as an overall fan, the first three quarters was a dud Super Bowl, but the ending was fantastic. I thought that the halftime show for Musher was actually not that bad. I know that there's some people that were kind of against it. Commercials, I do like the Brady one with Dunkin' Donuts because obviously it's kind of Red Sox related. Um, but yeah, I mean, congratulations to the Chiefs. It is now the first time that a Super Bowl champ has repeated since, yes, my 03-04 New England Patriots. And now, of course, we have to kind of see the Chiefs as the team really to beat, for the foreseeable future. So I just got to say that, man, just a great, great Super Bowl. Kind of ended, on a sour note in terms of the parade, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, the Super Bowl is, of course, real, really good. The second half of it, and Patrick Mahomes, of course, is doing great things, and I got to give credit to your Niners. I mean, you guys really played in terms of a grade. I'd say pretty much your high B plus, low A minus. Your defense obviously showed up in the first half. I thought in the second half they kind of got a little tired. But it came down to a couple things. I would say one from Kyle Shanahan, and then I thought that your defense in the second half kind of got a little conservative. The Chiefs kind of start to click when things kind of got tight down the stretch. The punt, of course, that was of course the major turn of events. Of course, when they got the first touchdown because they weren't moving the football at all. And then I'm just like, yep. Once you're able to kind of get something that the Niners kind of build off of that the Chiefs were able to do, they got that. And then the block extra point, that was of course really crucial because instead of right at the end where they had to go for the time field goal, they would have had to get a touchdown there. And then the overtime, it was 4th and 1. The Niners had a chance to come off the field. I was just like, Mahomes gets this first down, it is wraps. And essentially that's kind of what happened. So Isaiah, I know, of course, we talked about the air about a lot of stuff. Like I said, great season for your Niners. It sucks the way, of course, it unfolded, but that Chiefs team, man, is going to be one tough team to beat for the foreseeable future, no matter what. And I know for a fact that you said before the Super Bowl, I do not fear Patrick Mahomes. I told you, man, do not ever say it, man, because that's the same way for a lot of people when they talked about Tom Brady. I do not fear this man. I just can't. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid will be, no matter how that team's going to be shaped up for many, many years. I can't bet against those two guys at all. I mean, those two guys essentially have just been incredible. And now with them being a dynasty, it just makes it even more scary.
Yeah, I mean, I know the fans have been wanting to hear my thoughts on this for quite some time. I know I did do a show after a couple of days after the Super Bowl about it to talk about the Super Bowl for a little bit and then talk about the Steve Wilkes firing. But in terms of the game, I think the 49ers, it came down to missed opportunities. I mean, the Niners have nobody else to blame but themselves. I mean, they should have won that game, and they should have won that game by 24 points or more. I mean, that's how great of a team that they had over Kansas City. And if you looked at how the game played out, I mean, the Niners should have had a 31-7 lead at halftime. I mean, credit to KC, they played an outstanding game, but the Niners just continuously shot themselves in the foot. I mean, the first drive, we were driving down the field with ease. It looks like we're going to score an easy touchdown because Kansas City can't get a stop whatsoever. They can't even get us to get negative yards on a play. And then right when we were at the Kansas City 25-yard line, Christian McCaffrey, who never, ever, ever fumbles the football away. I mean, I thought for me, like when I was watching that game, that was kind of like my first sign of, oh crap, this is, Super Bowl 54 all over again. Super Bowl 54 all over again. It was definitely bad omen. But, it was just a lot of missed opportunities. The McCaffrey fumble, stalling that drive, the defense coming back, playing with a great vengeance in the next drive. Chase Young with a sack. I mean, bravo to Chase Young. He was called out by a lot of Niner fans and the Niners defensive coordinator and John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. And, he responded and, he had a really, really outstanding game, especially in that first half. And then you can't do anything after that. And also, don't forget, like the Chiefs throw a 51-yard bomb down the sidelines to, I believe, Miko Hardman. And then on the ensuing play, the Chiefs, Pacheco fumbles the football. Niners get it back. I'm out here like, nearly tearing my ACL, jumping up and down in excitement. And then the Niners just can't do anything. They go 3-and-out, and you just can't capitalize. Like against Patrick Mahomes, you gotta capitalize on opportunities. And we were not given just one or two. We were given like a boatload of opportunities to not only win that game, but to win that game by double digits. And we just couldn't capitalize. And sometimes it was the defense doing great, the offense sputtering, then or it was in the second half, the offense picking it up, and then Brock Purdy looking like your guy Ben out there, Tom Brady, leading the team up and down the field, matching wits with Patrick Mahomes, and then the defense can't get a stop. And then when the offense and the defense were playing great, then it was the special teams that would mess up with Ray McLeod, that fumble, or the ball that hits the guy's leg, and then McLeod can't.
I mean, it's really hard to. At first, I thought it was on McLeod that he fumbled it. It was more on the guy essentially that like literally ricocheted. Like it was literally like the Chiefs needed some type of bounce to just hit their way, and they got that right there because there was really nothing McLeod could do. It's outside really of getting out of the way, and he really couldn't of because the way it just deflected right in front of him.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it was just like all three phases just had bad moments at bad times. We just couldn't capitalize on a lot of opportunities. I do agree with you that Moody missed extra point really changed a lot because Kansas City, instead of them driving down to kick a field goal, they would have had to go for a touchdown with, I think it was like 5 or 6 minutes left in the game. So that definitely hurt for sure. But I think that it really came down to missed opportunities. Like, I know a lot of people are going to talk about Kyle Shanahan. Should they have taken the ball in overtime first? I disagree with that decision because I think that, and I know I was telling folks out there when we won the coin toss, I immediately said, give the ball to Patrick Mahomes. Give the ball to Patrick Mahomes. Let our defense, I know our defense was tired. I get all of that stuff. But still, give the ball to Patrick Mahomes. Let him have the first serve, and you can have the return serve to try to match whatever he does. And the offense was moving the ball down the field. Like I wasn't like really that scared about it. So I have full confidence that the Niners would definitely have scored a touchdown to match Mahomes if they did. But I mean, it just sucks the way that it ended. For the Niners, there's so many opportunities for Brock Purdy to play so well. The offense to pick it up late, the defense playing well in the beginning. We just couldn't put it all together. And that's why we're staring down another Super Bowl loss, is because we just, for some reason, when we get to the Super Bowl, we just cannot put it together. Like, I don't understand. Like, the Niners seem like they just get stage fright, and they just can't, on the biggest stage, they just cannot play their best football. And, maybe the Niners had it coming during this postseason, because if you had seen, like, the Packers game where the defense was awful, the offense was great, against the Lions, the defense was awful in the first half. The offense was good. And then, the second half, the offense picks it back up. There was just, throughout this whole postseason, there were just warning signs that, hey, offense was not playing that well. Defense played great. Defense would not play well. Offense would play great. Like, you just can't have that. You need to put together a complete effort in the postseason to win playoff games. And I mean, sadly, the Niners, staring down another postseason defeat, and it just makes you wonder, like, am I ever going to see a Super Bowl win? Because it's always like this, the Niners. Every time we get to the Super Bowl, we always just seem to find a way to choke. And it just definitely sucks about it. And I know I posted something on my personal page, I think it was a couple of days after the game, where I said, like, hey, I don't want to hear anything about Cleveland or San Diego or Dallas or Minnesota being their fans being the most torturous fans ever.
Please.
Niner fans have it hard. For you to go to the biggest game and not only go, but to lose the way you do, like, I'd rather go and get blown out, or not even go, than lose the way that we do. But it's just heartbreaking. But yeah, I mean, to wrap it up, I mean, on the Niners side, offensively, I thought Brock Purdy wasn't bad. I mean, I thought, like, I don't look at this game and think of this game as Brock Purdy was one of the biggest reasons why we lost. No, like, I think Brock Purdy was one of the biggest reasons we were even in the game to begin with. I mean, he was slicing and dicing up Kansas City's.
Probably on the torture comment.
Yeah, I see that comment right there. But I mean, Purdy was great, and Purdy solidified himself as a franchise quarterback and possibly the next great quarterback in 49ers history with his performance. I mean, he was outstanding, and I think he's going to build on it with another off season, his third year in the league, see what he could do. But it's definitely going to be very intriguing to see what the Niners do this off season, just because we have a lot of free agents. Ayuk, I believe Brandon Ayuk, he's up for a big deal. And also, it's like we have a lot of players up for big deals or free agency. Coaches, Steve Wilks has already been fired. Maybe Bill Belichick joins San Francisco. Who knows? But yeah, it's definitely another painful Super Bowl, and it was so painful to the point where I couldn't even. And I know I told Ben and James this, like off the air. I couldn't even look at a football, especially the day after. Like, I couldn't even look at a football because at the airport we're selling all these 49ers footballs, right? Couldn't even look at a football without wanting to, get emotional about the game. That's how tough it was. But, yeah, a great season, but just sucks that we lost the way that we did.
Now, Isaiah, really quickly, I have a couple more things before we'll go on to the next thing, is that Steve Wilks, I think that a lot of non-Niner fans were kind of surprised that he got fired. I mean, let's be real. I mean, the defense, they got tired in the second half, but if you told me that the Niners would really kind of hold its own for a lot of the second half where Patrick Mahomes is pretty much playing out of his world, I just think it's kind of tough to see him get fired just because, you don't know, really don't know how many other type of defensive coordinators that could kind of really fill his job, to the best of his ability. But how do you feel about this overall fine? One, and then two, of course, you kind of have to, talk about the other team. Like I kind of had to talk about some of the other teams that we lost in the Super Bowl. Where do you feel like this Chiefs kind of trajectory is going? As it looks like he has to. Looks like Isaiah's still here. Okay. How do you feel about the Chiefs in terms of the trajectory of greatness? Where do you think that this is kind of going? Because I have, of course, had a lot of people telling me Mahomes is already the GOAT, blah, 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 blah. All right. I let's kind of hold the brakes down. But where do you really feel like that this kind of new dynasty feel with the Chiefs are? So first, your overall thinking about the Steve Wilks firing, and then two, how do you feel about? I know obviously it sucks to kind of talk about the team that won the Super Bowl, but where do you feel that the Chiefs are kind of heading after this?
Well, I'm glad you got to this question because I did want to get into this before. I do have to head out for a bit because I do have to head home before the airport closes. I'll be back probably in about 20, 25 minutes afterwards. But, in terms of the Wilks firing, I am not like a lot of the national media out there. I'm not surprised he got fired. In fact, I thought he was going to get fired regardless of what had transpired because I thought that there was a lot of stuff that happened throughout this entire season that linked that Wilks was going to get fired. Kyle Shanahan and him did not get along. I mean, Kyle Shanahan publicly ripped Steve Wilks to the media and threw him under the bus several times during after games. After the Minnesota game, where he publicly said, Steve Wilks made the wrong call, and that was not a good call. He shouldn't have made that. Like, if they had a good relationship, you would not hear Steve Wilks get thrown under the bus like that by Kyle Shanahan. So I just think that Shanahan and Wilks' defensive philosophy didn't align. Shanahan did not want a blitz-heavy defense. Wilks was always calling a lot of blitzes that didn't match what we were doing in the coverages. And I also think, Ben, what was really telling about the Steve Wilks firing and how I knew Steve Wilks was going to get fired is after the day after the game, two quotes. Nick Bosa said when he was asked about Steve Wilks in the defense and guarding Patrick Mahomes, he said that the 49ers were surprised because the 49ers did not expect Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to run RPOs. Are you kidding me, man? Like that
Yeah,
itself
no,
should get a
that's
defensive
not it.
coordinator fired because every team in the NFL is running RPOs. Like, are you telling me Andy Reid, one of the most innovative offensive coaches in the game, is not going to run an RPO? Like, that's just like that is that's a fireable offense right there. And then I think a day after that, Shanahan told the local media when he was asked about the coaching staff and Wilkes, he said, "Oh, I haven't gone back and watched the game yet. You know, we'll see what happens." Like, if he wanted Wilkes to come back, he would have said, like, "Yeah, Steve Wilkes is coming back." No questions asked. But for him to not even say that, that was very striking for me. But I think for me, like the final straw in the camel's back was that I don't know if you saw this, Ben, but this was during overtime when the Chiefs had 3rd and 6 at the San Francisco 45. It's a critical play in the game. And Steve Wilkes has the secondary. Number one, he's got the secondary lined up, I think, 8 yards away from the line of
Yep,
scrimmage.
I
Like,
remember that. Yep.
Patrick Mahomes could have easily torched you right there. And if you look at the play, it was a cover zero all out blitz. They were
Are
going to
you
run a
talking?
cover.
Sorry
What's
to
that?
cut you off. Is that the one to Rice? The play to Rice?
I believe so. I believe that was
The
play.
cross to
But
Rice. Yeah, that. I do not get that. You do not blitz Patrick Mahomes in that spot. You just don't.
yeah, like they went soft. Late in that game. And you can't go. I don't care if you're playing Patrick Mahomes, if you're playing, Josh Allen, Justin Fields, Tyson Bagent. Like, you can't go soft in that situation. Like, it makes no sense, especially when you're playing Patrick Mahomes. Um, But I thought that what was really telling was that during the game, in the telecast, during that play, Shanahan burns the timeout, and you could just see him. He's angrily on the headset, just chewing Wilkes out
Oh,
on the headset angrily. Like, you could see that, and that's when I thought, like, yeah, Steve Wilkes is done as the defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers. Like, I'm not surprised that he got fired, but in terms of who I think should replace him, and Ben, I think you know where I'm going to go with this. There is no other person that you call other than Bill Belichick. That is the person that you call because you have a team that's built to win right now. Our window is probably open for like 1 or 2 more years. You have a defense that has all world talent. Get the best of the best to run your defense. And a lot of people might say, like, why? But why would Bill take a demotion? You know why Bill should take a demotion is because number one, he's not going to get a head coaching job next year. So what is he going to do? Go on TV? Like, if Bill Belichick really wants to coach, and I believe he does because he's a coaching lifer, and going on TV, like, that's just coaches don't do that because they have that itch.
Another thing too that will kind of be
Go ahead.
really kind of off the rails, but is if he did go there, and yeah, it's obviously he's an older coach. Is Tom Brady grew up as a San Fran fan? Just imagine just the overall, just everything that would be full circle about it. It's just like I would love to see it. I really would. I mean, I think that we're still kind of in a younger coach kind of type of coaching type of thing, but you guys are a win now type of roster. That's the one
Exactly.
thing. If Bill Belichick is going to be with the specific team at this point in time of his career, he's going for a win record or for a Super Bowl. That's it.
Exactly, and that's why I think he should join the Niners because the Niners' job, number one, is a springboard to a head coaching job. And I said this a couple of days ago. If Bill Belichick joins the San Francisco 49ers and wins a Super Bowl, he will have any head coaching job that he wants. He will have every team lining up to give him whatever the heck he wants to be their head coach. That's how great of an opportunity that he has. And also, don't forget, Bill Belichick, his reputation, I feel like, is blemished right now. So a little bit blemished. So I just feel like that he needs that bounce back to rehab his image before he gets another job. And with him in San Francisco, with Armstead, Bosa, and all Hargraves and all those guys that they have, Fred Warner as well, it just makes a lot of sense. You know, it kind of reminds me of Deion Sanders going to the Niners in 1994, since the Niners were a great team, but they just needed that last dominant piece to put them over the top. That's Bill Belichick right now with his amazing defensive line. And then for Belichick's sake, I mean, you go to San Fran, you coach up the defense, make the Niners defense not only the best defense in the NFL, but possibly the best defense that we've seen in NFL history. You win a Super Bowl, and you get your pick of any head coaching job that you want in the NFL. It just makes too much sense for it not to happen. I do not want Brandon Staley because
Oh yeah.
Brandon Staley had one good year coaching defenses, and if you look at his Chargers defenses, they were all just downright terrible in Los Angeles. I don't want a up and comer like Daniel Bullocks or Nick Sorensen. I don't want any of those guys because you have a
James
win now.
floated this one.
You
Rex
cannot.
Ryan.
Uh, has been out of the game for 10 years, and
But
if you give me Belichick, if Belichick's available, you got to make that call. Like you just have to
yeah,
make that call. Like you just cannot not make that call. There's a couple of guys that's been thrown out there that I feel like that has been linked to the Niners. Obviously Brandon Staley, I don't want him. Um, your guy Mike Vrabel. A lot of people say he'll be a great fit, and the reason why I don't like Mike Vrabel, as the Niners DC is because Mike Vrabel's a great motivator. He's a great head coach, CEO type coach. But if you actually look at when he's a defensive coordinator, his defenses have never been that great. And if you could get me Belichick or get me Mike Vrabel, I would 1000% take Bill Belichick over Mike Vrabel. I think Vrabel's a good coach, but I think he's better off like as a CEO, like running the entire operation,
yeah.
than being a defensive coordinator. And then I think the last person that people has mentioned is Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll would be a disastrous fit for the Niners because
Oh, I was about to say, you really wanted him as a hire?
no,
Okay.
because his defenses, like his defensive scheme that was so innovative with the Seahawks, it's outdated now in in
He
the
had the
NFL.
Legion of Boom. That wasn't him creating that. That was essentially just what fell into his lap.
Exactly. That was he had the Legion of Boom. So he probably was a product of the talent that he had, but Belichick's proven like he is regardless of the talent that he has, whether it's great talent or it's bad talent, like Belichick can still coach defense. I mean, the Patriots defense this season was ranked number 5 in the NFL, and they were playing a lot of like backups and third stringers. They had a lot of injuries.
Our defense, low key, like even when like we were out of it for like 4 or 5 weeks, outside of like the Dallas game maybe and like another game I forgot where we got blown out. Every game essentially was like within a score or two. And the reason why we didn't come out on top was because our offense was just a disaster.
Exactly. Yeah, the Patriots weren't bad defensively. They were great defensively despite a lot of injuries. So, yeah, for me, I definitely want Belichick to be the defensive coordinator. Like, I would give Bill Belichick. If Bill Belichick wants $10 million, do it. Like, because, you have him for 1 year, go all in next season, and then deal with the ramifications after that. But, Ben, I'll be back in about, like, 20 minutes roughly from now.
All
I
right.
do have to head home. But, yeah,
Sounds like a plan,
appreciate
man.
you having me on, and can't wait to see you in about 20 minutes.
All right. Sounds good. I'll hold the fort here on my own. While Isaiah goes, James, I appreciate you chiming in, my friend. So I'll go through some of the comments here from James. So the first one was defense ruled the Super Bowl definitely at first, but Mahomes and his magic still rules. I 100% agree. I mean, his essential magic that he had at the end, pretty much was proven. I mean, kind of like 4 years ago against the Niners, the same way, down to the wire. He made the plays right at the end, and that's essentially what compares to the good quarterbacks to the greats. Is the greats make the plays when it matters most. Looks like Purdy won't beat Tom Brady. Isaiah, after all, huh? I mean, Purdy played well. He played well. I think he's going to be their quarterback, but I would be curious to see if there's going to be some pieces, like a guy like Ayuk, for example. If there's some pieces that are kind of starting to fall off a bit, I'd be curious to kind of see in terms of where things kind of go. Because, yes, Purdy, I think, played well in the Super Bowl, but there was also times during that game where they blitzed a lot. And Spagnuolo was just like, all right, we're going to just throw the house and see what you have. And I think that I'd say most of the time he did not, challenge himself to the test there. Where there was some guys in his face. There's a couple third downs at the end of the game where he just either had to throw it away or he almost got sacked. So that's one thing with Purdy that I just have to kind of see more of is, facing the blitzes and the crucial times when it matters most. James also mentioned. I hated that Super Bowl matchup just like in 2020. I don't think a lot of people loved it, but I just wanted a good game, and that's what we got. He also said, I really believe Kansas City is going to win the three-peats. I mean, I could really see it, man. I mean, it's tough to see as a Pats fan, but I also have to give credit where credit's due. I mean, they've been by far the best team in football for many, many years. Ever since kind of Brady and the whole Pats team kind of moved on from the dynasty years, and they're kind of creating now their own. I mean, back to back. This is now Mahomes' third Super Bowl. He's trying to go for a fourth. I think there was a stat already that he's maybe had the best stretch, in history in the NFL in terms of 5 to 6 year stretch to kind of start his career. So he's doing absolutely great, great things. Really happy for Mahomes and that Chiefs team and what they've been doing. He said he has fans. Are you serious? What a time to fumble. Yeah, I think you're probably talking about the fumble Pacheco had, or the fumble, the punt fumble, which could have happened as well. Imagine it being a sports show, not talking about the Super Bowl. Definitely facts there. But obviously, we're going to try to move on to talk some other stuff, football, real quick before we talk some other stuff when Isaiah comes back. Chase Young. Yeah, Chase Young's going to be out there for them. Panthers. That'd be interesting, especially if Brian Burns walks. I'd be curious to see about that. Shanahan said, I'm not getting fired, so Wilkes builds the butt. Hey, that's fair. Raiders didn't run any RPOs. I mean, I guess with Jimmy G, I think Jimmy, they ran a lot of RPOs there, but Aiden O'Connell, I think that just McDaniels doesn't really do a lot of RPOs overall in his offense, too. So cover zero and prevent defenses are the worst. Yes, I 100% agree. I mean, I do think that cover zero you can kind of use in critical situations. I mean, I feel like the Niners should have done cover zero quite a bit in that second half when they were getting conservative, but you do not play cover zero against Patrick Mahomes when it matters most and prevent defense. They essentially did cover zero and prevent defense in the second half the worst time. So I think it's a matter of just timing that overall defensive scheme there. You are crazy, probably what you meant for Isaiah. I love Staley teams the Chargers. Bill be the head coach of the Giants. I mean, I guess, he's already coached there before, so I mean, you never know, right? Vrabel only wants to be a head coach. Definitely agree on that. That was Ken Norton Jr. The CMC fumble. Okay. Yeah, no, that was, of course, big too. Like on low key, of course, if they got points there the first drive, kind of have a start to the overall statement of the Super Bowl and just the critical of it. I know that McCaffrey was pretty down on himself after the Super Bowl was over just because of that, but can't really blame him too much there. Because he had a really good game. It was really the other guys. I mean, Samuel, Ayuk, Kittle, they just didn't get anything going. I will give credit where credit's due to Steve Spagnuolo. He just had a very good game plan, and he had a really good game plan in the Super Bowl when they faced him the first time. And he had a really good game plan against the best Patriots team of all time in 2007. So it's something about Spagnuolo where he just, shines in the bright moments and the big games, and just got to give credit there where credit is due, for sure. All right, let's get kind of into some other stuff specifically in football. Now, so the offseason, of course, is among us now. It sucks. Football season's over. But, of course, the football season, offseason never sleeps. So starting on Tuesday, we officially are going to – NFL teams essentially can designate the franchise tag or transition players. For those that don't know, that are on here, or do know, whatever it means, the franchise tag somebody is pretty much it's their last year of their contract, and if their franchise tag eligible, they essentially can use the tag on somebody to essentially pretty much tell them that they're under contract at least for another year, that they can stay within the team. There's also an option though that if they want to be paid, they essentially be tagged and of course traded, where essentially they can feel still their value. But that kind of really happens a lot for people that have kind of tagged already once. Sometimes you get tagged again, but it's just like, no, I'm not going to be tagged again. I want to get paid no matter where things stand. But here's some guys specifically that are in that specific tag trade group starting on Tuesday to watch out for. So here's some names to be followed to look out for is linebacker Josh Allen. Nope, that is not quarterback Josh Allen. That is linebacker Josh Allen from the Jaguars. To me, in that one specifically, I'd probably go that he gets tagged. Running back Saquon Barkley. Now, this is a tough one because Saquon Barkley got tagged, I believe, last year. And I feel like I was talking to somebody off the air about this earlier today. Is Saquon Barkley, of course, he's had injury problems in the past, but the thing about Saquon is he's going to want to get a lot of money. That's the biggest thing. He's going to want to have his value specifically present. And so I think that he is not going to get tagged, and I think that he's going to find a partner to move on from the Giants. I just do. Brian Burns, same thing. I think he gets tagged and traded. Kyle Duggar from my Patriots, I think he gets tagged. I think that he's been a really good piece with the Patriots. T. Higgins, receiver, key receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he gets tagged. I think there's already been rumblings about that already. Josh Jacobs, I think that he will be set in the market. I don't think that he's going to get tagged again. Jalen Johnson, I think that the Bears are going to find a contract extension with him. I think that he's a really big piece for that team. Justin Matabuke, defensive tackle. Hold on, give me a sec in terms of his team. He's a Raven. Oh, man. I think that he probably does not get tagged. I think that he's probably going to, go somewhere else. Specifically, Baker Mayfield. I think that Baker Mayfield will not be tagged, but I do think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to give him a 2 to 3 year contract extension. Baker and Tampa Bay really like the way that they kind of meshed that overall relationship. I think Jason Light really wants to keep him around for sure. So yeah, I'm gonna go Baker. Does not get tagged, but I think that he stays for a long-term extension. Michael Pittman. I think Michael Pittman will seek the market. Christian Wilkins, seek the market. Antoine Winfield. I'm gonna go. He gets tagged and stays another year at the Bucs. So that's that. All right, now of course we're gonna get into a little bit of somber news. In terms of the aftermath of the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade, which occurred on Wednesday during the day. I'm sorry. There was a mass shooting in Kansas City at the parade. Seeing this news, I was at work, and just the overall feel of how I felt. I mean, I just I really don't know what to say at this point in time, in terms of just crazy that this keeps happening. Mixed emotions, absolute just tired. I'm tired of hearing a lot of this stuff that has happened from what looked like a great celebration in Kansas City, back-to-back Super Bowl in their city. Of course, you had fans going from everywhere, thousands of people. And just right at the end, essentially right at the end of the Super Bowl parade, people are filing out. And from what people were hearing, it sounded like potentially fireworks that were inside of or around kind of Union Station and kind of cap off what was a great overall day and celebration. But then you hear people talking on the news that no, there are some people that really started to hear some gunshots, and just absolutely gutted in terms of when I heard about this. Now, there are some potential rumblings that it could have been some gains potentially in Kansas City. I don't know specifically about that. I just kind of heard that from overall some rumors. But what we do know is one person has been officially been killed. A lot of other ones, I think 18 to like 20 people were going to the hospital in Kansas City at Children's Hospital. From what it sounds like, I think most of them have been recovering, and it's just tough. It really is a tough situation. I really it was hard to kind of see the news on Wednesday because pretty much all the news from Wednesday was about this. But the biggest lesson that I look at is to really make sure that you hug your loved ones and hug your friends. Um, because just I know it's cheesy and everything like that, but you just never know potentially when your day might come. As crazy to think as it is, I mean, us in a society now these days, we can't go out specifically to a big event without essentially feeling like we're feared, and that's a scary thing. We have little kids that are trained more than adults in terms of how to, you know, situate with a potential mass shooting. um, it's just absolutely disheartening. It's gross to even think about. I mean, I remember when I was younger, the guidelines to lockdowns, in our schools, uh, and just a year by year type thing. I mean, I remember the Boston Marathon bombing. I remember the Sandy Hook, which of course really hit me hard because it was in my state and I was in school when I heard about the news. It really, really is tough, and I really sending my prayers and everything to the city of Kansas City, and Taylor Swift. Of course, Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelsey. That's of course been a hot commodity throughout during the NFL season. Man, she put an absolute great donation, saying that so she donated $100,000 to a family of the woman that was fatally shot during the parade. Um, you know, Gotta love that from Taylor for sure, and just everybody specifically. Even it's like a couple donations. Patrick Mahomes and his wife Brittany are doing a donation foundation for Kansas City. As of course, a lot of those people are still trying to recover um, from this absolute tragic event that transpired at the Chiefs parade. So I really just want to kind of quickly talk about that really quick. Obviously, I don't have every type of news from this specifically. Day by day, there's been more and more news that's kind of transpired. So obviously, I'm just kind of trying to follow in, just like you guys specifically. But what we do know is yes, that there was specifically an unfortunate shooting that happened at the Kansas City Chiefs parade following their celebrations. James also mentioned, I remember riots after parades, but not this. I'm sick of the media not showing the suspects. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's absolutely just disheartening to really think. And we just as a society, I just don't really know where things go from here. I really just don't know. Um, Time's gonna have to tell, because you obviously want to go out and celebrate something like this, and just one or two people essentially kind of ruin everything, which sucks. So that's kind of how the way I see it. So, all right. So now with that being said, I obviously kind of want to get that out. I want to just really quickly see if there's anything else in football I wanted to mention. Now, when we do get Isaiah back on here, I'll obviously kind of ask him about that overall stuff specifically. But in the meantime, we obviously can kind of move on. All right. Give me 1 second. Just bear with me. So, all right, let's go get into some baseball, guys. Yes, baseball is officially back. I'm excited. I guess in a way, because of the Red Sox, but baseball, yes, baseball is officially back, and pitchers and catchers have officially reported. Um, a couple days ago, position players come back tomorrow. Actually, today, where I am in terms of my living, because it's past midnight here in the East Coast. But yeah, it's obviously this coming week. We will see some live baseball. Spring training games start this weekend. The Dodgers and James, I'm not excited. Yeah. The Dodgers and Padres are going to be playing a game, I believe, on Thursday in Korea. So that'll be kind of cool. You have two kind of division teams. That'll be a lot of fun. Speaking of the Dodgers, we have one of our Dodgers King, Casey King. Casey, thanks for tuning in. Let's go Dodgers. Casey, I bet you and Laura are going crazy about the Dodgers as they've been having a very exciting offseason. Of course, adding Shohei Ohtani, Yoshibanu Yamamoto, Tyler Glass now, and many more stars with their team. But yeah, I mean, it's great to see baseball coming back. Spring training, obviously, is this weekend. We're going to be having baseball, folks, from this weekend until November. So it's going to be exciting. No matter specifically how you feel about your teams, which of course I'm not feeling great about, but of course it's good to see it. That's gonna be coming on TV. And with that being said, let's kind of get into some names though that are still out there on the market. And so in terms of guys like Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell, Matt Chapman, trying to think what else. I mean, Jorge Soler just got picked up last week, but he was kind of pretty much been floating out there. He went to the Giants, which is a good move by the Giants. Adam Duvall is still out there. I mean, just so many other guys. JD Martinez is still out there. But I'll kind of go through the two big fishes, which are the two pitchers right now, and kind of see the way that I feel about them, which I talked about on my other show on Hitting for the Cycle. Make sure to tune in on to that as we started previewing me and Ryan Tui previewed on that. But I think Jordan Montgomery right now, if I had to choose in terms of where he's going to go, I think that Jordan Montgomery is going to go to the Phillies. I don't think that the Texas Rangers are going to get him. Sorry, Isaiah. But I think that the Texas Rangers pretty much are kind of set with their pitching staff right now. They obviously brought in Tyler Mahle. They still have DeGrom. They still have Evaldi. They still have Max Scherzer. And obviously with the TV rights that they have over in Texas, I just don't think that the Rangers are going to pony up for Montgomery. And Chris Young had some comments this week at spring training where he doesn't think that they really need more in terms of the rotation. He said essentially that they might need more help if they really want it. But it's not like, it's a necessity, I guess, by any means. So to answer your question, James, I think Jordan Montgomery is going to go to the Phillies. Zach Wheeler is going to be a free agent next year. Obviously they have Aaron Nola locked up, but I know that Zach Wheeler was saying this week that he loves being in Philadelphia, but regardless of the fact, I mean, the Phillies, of course, if you bring in Jordan Montgomery, obviously the Phillies were just in the NLC last year. Pitching is, of course, key. One thing about Jordan Montgomery that I really like is he gives you innings. And I think that for the Red Sox, aka my team, I would love him because, one, his wife's been in Boston all offseason. He's been training in Boston himself at Boston College. And the Red Sox need pitching so bad. They need frontline starting pitching so bad. And I essentially just do not trust this ownership to pony up. And even if Jordan Montgomery wants to go on a short-term deal, I think he's going to try to go to a roster where they can win a World Series and just be competitive after he was just winning World Series last year. The Red Sox just don't have that. They don't have a team that's ready to win now, unfortunately. So I think to answer your question, James, I think that the Phillies, a quiet team this offseason, will make a move for him. I think that Dave Dombrowski, one thing about Dombrowski is he hides a lot in the offseason in terms of kind of waiting for his moment. I think that's where he's going to go. Casey Keene also had some comments. Scott Boras is the problem as he has half these guys as their agent. And it's speaking of Scott Boras, Casey, Ron Manfred had some interesting things, which we'll talk about Manfred in a little bit, by the way, because there's some things about him I wanted to mention. But he was talking about a specific time frame of pitchers and free agents, essentially a timetable of when people should be signed. Because let's be real, there is no excuse. I think that winter meetings went off in December. free agency kind of started up. The whole entire offseason, it started up in like January, and it's February 19th, and pretty much I'd say 30 to 40% of guys that are on the market are still in the market, and baseball's almost here. It's just absolutely crazy to think. So Manfred was talking about a specific timetable of where people should sign, and then in terms of when they should sign, which I think would be so much easier. It would help so much. Where do you think Blake Snell goes? So I've kind of talked myself into this, Casey, because I thought that Blake Snell all along was going to go somewhere West Coast, but there hasn't been a lot of teams out there for Blake Snell right now. The one team really that's kind of caught my eye lately, and that's given, I'd say, the most smoke, is the Yankees. And I think that the Yankees are a team that's trying to win a championship really badly right now. Obviously, they brought in Marcus Stroman already. They obviously are banking on Carlos Rodon to have a bounce back year. Looks like from this offseason, he's put a lot of work in. So obviously that's good news for Yankee fans. But if they got Blake Snell, and Blake Snell obviously NL Cy Young winner last year, I think that specifically he should go to the Yankees. I don't know what type of deal it's going to be, but I also think that he's going to get a lot less than what he's asking for. And obviously, like you mentioned, James, his price is too high. Yeah, exactly. Like he's essentially pretty much asking for like 8 to 9 years, and he's just not that. I mean, I think that he's a solid pitcher, but he's essentially asking for like Garrett Cole type money, like in terms of years and stuff like that. He's just not at that level. Snell couldn't handle the New York media. He's a softie. I mean, like I said, I think he'd only go there specifically, James, because I just don't specifically know like what other team would want him. I really don't. I think that the Orioles are going to make a low-key splash potentially after even they got Corbin Burns. I would not be surprised if they looked at Luzardo. Apparently, Kyle Bradish is going to miss the start of the season for them. He has an injury that could be a potential big blow because the Orioles rotation with Bradish and Burns and Grayson Rodriguez, that could be a team to fear for sure in the East in the American League. But yeah, I mean, if the Yankees got Snell, that would be a really scary rotation if it can stay healthy, because the Yankees in the last couple of years have had their awful fair share of the injury bug. So those are the two type of guys that I think are kind of headlining the market right now. Chapman, I know that there is some rumblings potentially on him going to potentially the Mariners, but I really think that he's going to end up in San Francisco. That's been kind of my fit all along. He has that relationship with Bob Melvin, and just I think they're going to get something done there. So I have him going there, and then Cody Bellinger. That was the other guy I was trying to think about. I think he resigns in Chicago. He had a really good year with the Cubs last year. Cubs, to me, haven't done a lot, I would say, this offseason. But if they got Bellinger back, I think that's adds, of course, a lot. So, like I said, there's still some guys out there. I mean, I expect that this week, we could see some type of activity. I obviously don't know specifically because I feel like a broken record for saying that. That yes, this is going to be the week. This is going to be the week, and nothing obviously happens. And there's been some spurts of signings here and there, but I just can't say when things are going to happen at this point in time. So, it's great though that baseball's back. I'm really really excited in terms of where things are going to happen. JD Martinez, another guy too, where I could see him going. I mean, maybe the Mets. I'll talk about the Mets a little bit because, Pete Alonso, speaking of Boris, Pete Alonso, who's going to be a free agent next year. There's been some rumors that he could be testing the market already. And I obviously want to talk about Alonso a little bit in terms of what I think is going to happen, because I think, of course, myself, especially living in kind of the New York metropolitan area. I mean, I'm living in Connecticut, but, I obviously listen to New York sports daily. I think that a lot of New York media feel that he's probably going to resign with the Mets. And I think so too. I think Alonso's going to stay. But I think a guy like JD Martinez would be a perfect guy in the Mets lineup. I feel like Alonso needs that protection. But unless they go get a guy like Juan Soto, I mean, if Juan Soto essentially to me is like a 1-year rental, which could happen, we'll have to see. I mean, it sounds like Juan Soto is already at the New York Yankees facility. He's going to have a press conference tomorrow. Actually, he's physically on the field grounds because the last one he had was via Zoom. So really, the Yankee fans are going to have the chance to kind of see the media, specifically him in person. So I think that's going to be great news for Yankee fans. Is Devers getting traded this season? No, that's not happen. As bad as the Red Sox offseason has been, Devers is going to be a guy specifically that's going to be there long term. Unless the Red Sox, to me specifically, don't consistently spend, which could happen, I don't see him asking out in his whole entire contract. I just don't see it. Seth Johnson for my guy. Good evening, Seth. How are you? He said, "What are your thoughts on Kyle Brash's UCL injury? Big blow. UCL injuries could be very, very, scary. They're really bad, specifically for pitchers, because it's like right here on the bottom. So it's tough. Like Bradish had a really good year last year, and they're of course going to have to rely and bank on guys like Corbin Burns, obviously right out of the gate. Dean Kramer, John Means, of course, is coming back, which I think is going to be a big, get back for them. So, I mean, unless they go out and get a guy like Luzardo, that's a big blow to the Orioles for sure. But I do think that he's going to come back. I'll probably go like between, I'm not a doctor by any means, but I'll probably go like May, June, probably. Maybe I would say probably like late May to early June. Soto's ego is going to go up 1,000 points ahead of New York. I mean, we'll set to see. I mean, the thing about stars in New York, some people can handle it, some people can't. That's pretty much the biggest thing about it. Seth also said, what are your thoughts on Rangers GM Chris Young saying Texas is done spending money and won't make any of the most? See, that's where I'd love to have Isaiah on to talk to him about that, which I'll probably ask him when he comes back here. I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm a little surprised, but they're a really good team still, I think, locked up. I mean, they're going to be up there in the American League West. So I'm a little surprised, but I'm not at the same time. Yo, so we'll buy Royals. I actually did not know you're a Royals fan, so it's actually good to know that. Make a wild card. That's a good question because the AL Central to me right now, and it's kind of been a division where it's kind of been very I wouldn't say soft, but just not a lot of teams specifically that really like stand out crazy to me. I mean, the Twins, yeah, I mean they're fine. The Guardians, who knows about them? Of course, they're trying to potentially move on from Clase and Bieber. Obviously, they still have J-Ram. J-Ram's really, really good. Royals, I think, Seth, right now, I mean, they've had a low-key, sneaky good offseason. They just got John Schreiber a couple days ago, who is a really good guy from the Red Sox. We got a surprising guest here, Taylor. Taylor, how you doing, my friend? Welcome to your first
Ben,
ever.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Terry. Taylor, hope you're doing well. Welcome here on the program. Your first ever show.
I can't hear you, Ben.
Taylor, we might have Taylor come back here because I can hear him. We'll have to see. Taylor, can you hear me, my friend?
Can you hear me now, Ben?
I could hear you.
I can't hear you though.
Well, we'll try to get you on. I mean, I could hear you. Hear you?
Okay, because I can't hear you.
All right. Well, I'll text you off and we'll try to see because I know for a fact you're trying to get on and maybe get your overall thoughts. So Taylor, I'll try to see. I mean, I know you're backstage, but we'll try to see specifically about your audio. But yeah, really quickly before I'll try to get Taylor back on here and see about this malfunction. Yeah, I mean, I think that the Royals have had a really sneaky offseason. They extended Bobby Witt to a long-term deal, which I think that they really needed to do. It's the biggest offseason that they've the signing that they made, the biggest money grab that they've made pretty much in their history. Of course, the second was to Salvador Perez. They brought in two guys specifically in terms of their starting staff. They have Mike Waka, they have Seth Lugo, two guys that I think are pretty much complementary pieces. So yeah, I mean, I'll probably go with I'd say their ceiling in terms of wins probably like mid to high 60s, low 70s, maybe. That's kind of the way I see it with them. So that's that. All right, let's see if I can get Taylor back on here. I know we've kind of been playing phone tag. Taylor, can I hear you now? Taylor, where have you? Man, I feel bad. Taylor, we got you? It just seems like we've had some unfortunate here with Taylor. Because I love talking with Taylor for sure in sports. Let's see. James also said Christian only speaks truth. That is very true. Royals maybe that surprise team this season. I could see the Royals signing Matt Chapman. I don't see it, unfortunately. I think Matt Chapman's going to try to go to a ready now type roster and a place to win. Is Kyle Gibson a Cy Young candidate this season? I don't think so. I think that Gibson, where's Gibson right now? Oh, he went to the Cardinals. That's right. I think you have a solid year for them, but I just, there's just a lot of great other pitchers that I take over him for sure. AL Central, worst division up for grabs. 100% agree with you on that. Let's see. Taylor, this is like the fourth, sixth time. Do we have it?
I can hear you now. Can you
All
hear
right,
me?
awesome. I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
All right, Taylor, welcome to your first ever episode on Kick It with Kruse. I know for a fact we're going to get Isaiah back on here, but surprising guest. Taylor, hope you're doing well. And obviously, while I have you on here, we're obviously in the baseball segment on my show. So, without further ado, I want to really kind of quickly ask you, how are you feeling about the Angels offseason? I know that obviously I asked James, your fellow Angel fan, about the loss of Shohei Ohtani. But in terms of the Angels, kind of their offseason, kind of where you feel about that. And, it's crazy to think that baseball's pretty much back. I mean, obviously it's not, meaningful games. It's not back yet, but it's just good to see, some baseball content out there online and stuff like that. So, how do you feel about that baseball is kind of close to being back, and your overall thoughts on the Angels offseason?
Well, Ben, like I said, losing Ohtani was definitely a big blow, but and especially to a hated rival like the Dodgers, and but other than that, we still have Trout, we still have several others that I think, and I think because I think Ohtani might have been the problem because of all the star power, and now that he's on the Dodgers, and since the Dodgers are stacked, and I've known this for a fact, too much star power is never good, because I've seen it with a bunch of other so-called super teams. All that star power has blown up in their face, and it's an early exit if they make the playoffs, or they miss the playoffs completely. So I'm going to say that for the Angels, this is probably going to be their year, and the Dodgers just might, either, sorry, I'm just adjusting my tripod
No,
and all
it's okay.
that. But yeah, I just got this thing also. But I think it might be it's probably either they're either gonna miss the playoffs completely, or they make the playoffs and they have an early exit. So, but on the note of the Angels, I think they might be, probably this could. I think they're probably going to make the postseason for the first time in a decade now. If they this season, because Trout has to stay healthy, Rendon has to do the same thing,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
and of course for the pitching, the starters have been pretty good. It's the bullpen that's been the Achilles heel over the years. So, but
Yeah. It's
I'm probably gonna have to say, the Angels are probably it's obviously gonna be hard to adapt without Otani, but I think they're gonna they'll probably be back in the postseason, either as the AL West champ or a wild card, either one.
yes.
But I'll be happy either way if they make the playoffs with either as the division champ or a wild card. It doesn't matter. They just got to make the
Yeah.
playoffs.
I love your optimism, Taylor, for sure. Of course, you being an Angels fan, but that's a lot. It's a tall ask, my friend. I mean, you're banking on Trout to be healthy. Of course, I love to see Trout healthy because he's one of the best players in baseball. He's just never been able to kind of stay healthy consistently. Uh, in terms of Anthony Rendon, I just don't know specifically if his head's always there. It's obviously kind of been a contract that's been not really kind of paying up to in terms of what he wants to be. I think that really the best player outside of Trout, really, and I'm going to take away Ohtani, is Logan O'Hoppe and Brandon Drury. I mean, kind of two guys specifically. I think that can, make a presence in that lineup specifically. But as James was saying, of course, James is an Angel fan himself. He said they're going to suck. Let's be real. 69 wins. Yeah, no, I think they're gonna be a little bit better than that. Probably a little bit better than the Sox, to be honest. They've been watching the playoffs. Well, we'll have to see about that. But yeah, the pitching for sure. I think just for they've kind of had their problems with like frontline pitching for a while as the Angels, and you take away, of course, Otani. It's like you have Detmers, who I think was okay. Sandoval hit or miss last year. Tyler Anderson kind of hit or miss. They had Chase Shilleth, I think his name is, and then they had Silseth, yes. And they also have Tyler Anderson. Did I say Anderson? That's Paulo Sandoval.
Yeah,
No,
Patrick Sandoval. You mean
Patrick Sandoval? I said Paulo Sandoval. Speaking of Paulo Sandoval,
it's Patrick. Pablo doesn't pitch, and I
Paulo
think
doesn't pitch, but he is reportedly Paulo Sandoval is getting a tryout with the Giants. I don't know. You saw that news a couple days ago, but he is reportedly going to go to spring training. So Paulo Sandoval in the big 2024. You'd love to see that.
Oh yes,
All right.
especially since this is the team. For Pablo, he's trying to make the team that he's won 3 World Series with, and he's definitely if he obviously he won all 3 of them under Bruce Bochy's reign, and of course on the note of Bochy, he just won his 4th World Series with the Texas Rangers, but we'll see how well he fits in with whoever the new Giants manager is.
Yeah, we'll talk about in terms of the teams, kind of the predictions of the teams a couple weeks probably from now on my show. But moving on, let's talk about the commissioners, Taylor, because I don't know if you saw this, but Rob Manfred talked this past week, and he essentially has addressed that he is going to be done being the commissioner of baseball in 2029, which you may think, well, it's still a long ways away. 5 years specifically. I mean, he is essentially, this has been a guy that I think many baseball fans are kind of ready to move to the side and have just a new voice, because I think overall he's changed so many rules. I mean, the extra inning rule, I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah.
Guy started at second base. I mean, is this real baseball or not? No.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
But
I think Manfred's I think he is really, in my opinion, he's really ruined baseball because I mean, with the exception, the pitch clock, I understand they're trying to speed up the game, but I think it's, it obviously takes an effect on your mind as well. And then at the same time, with the extra innings, you're trying to get that runner home to give them a lead and end it faster. But I mean, I don't know. As for the universal DH, I get it. We tend to go to the ball games for the offense, but
Right.
there are even some pitchers that, like, other besides Otani, there are also some pitchers that are good hitters too. Like, for example, you remember Madison Bumgarner when he was with the Giants. He
Of
was a
course,
good
yeah.
hitting pitcher too. That's another a perfect example of a pitcher other than Otani who can really
Mhm.
hit. So,
Yeah, I mean
and
the
not to,
thing though about sorry to cut you off. The only thing about the pitchers trying to hit is they're already doing so much with their body, already pitching. It's like there's not many guys like Otani where essentially conditioning you could go up to the plate, every fifth day, by the way. He's essentially batting every night, but he's essentially pitching every other fifth day and keeping his body the way it is. It just does not happen. So I mean it's really cool to see guys that are pitchers that can be able to hit. But you want to have pitchers pitch. You don't want pitchers hit it. So
yeah, but well, at the same time, that kind of adds the depth to, like, not just, well, yeah, I understand. Yeah, it does take a toll on their bodies, but at the same time, it kind of makes the game a little more exciting, especially when the pitcher makes a mistake to the opposing pitcher, either by giving up a big hit or walking him, because then that could change the whole complexity of the game and maybe even change the outcome too.
it could. But yeah, of course, the news that we saw this week is that Rob Manfred is not going to be a commissioner of baseball in 5 years. So I do want to talk about that. Our last thing I want to talk about, Taylor, before it looks like we're going to get Isaiah back on here a little bit, and we're going to kind of transition over to basketball, is Pete Alonso, because, of course, Pete Alonso is somebody that is going to be a free agent in the 2025 free agency class. Obviously, I kind of mentioned already, but he's a Scott Boras client. Scott Boras loves to hard ball. Sorry. So many guys specifically, of course, you're kind of seeing it right now this offseason class that, of course, have a lot of agents with Scott Boras. What do you think about Pete Alonso's market, Taylor? Do you think that he's going to test the market, or do you think that he's going to stay as a New York Met long term? I think he's going to
Oh,
stay.
yeah, I think he's pretty much found a home with the Mets. So I think if I were him, I'd probably, I mean, even if I were to even if I had to take a pay cut, I would probably stay with the Mets, because even to stay loyal to one market or one team, if there's multiple teams in the market, that's I think that's the better way to go, because eventually, if you stick it out, because if you look at, like, for example, look at all the other players that were in all the other sports, so like Kobe, for instance, all those championships he won all with the Lakers, or
Right.
Stephen Curry with the Golden State Warriors. He's been there for his entire career, and he's got 4 rings out of it. Pete Alonso, if he stays with the Mets, just might win a World Series or 2 just by sticking it out with the team that he found a home with. So, and even if he has to take a pay cut, it would be best if he stays loyal to that side of New York. So that way he'll be a hometown hero for, who knows, possibly the rest of his career, maybe even the rest of his life.
Yeah, I mean, I agree in terms of you mentioned loyalty. I mean, of course, sports and loyalty with a lot of these athletes. Some guys, of course, buy to it, and some players don't. Some players are too loyal. There's a definition of you want to be loyal, but then you also want to be, trying to win. And that's Pete Alonso right now. Is I think that he, to himself specifically, the unfortunate thing about the offseason, Taylor, with a lot of these trades, it's a business. So essentially, a lot of these guys want to get paid. And if they don't get paid specifically, then that's where they go bye bye. So
Yes.
what
Yeah.
what
Like, kind of like, I think that's, well, I don't know if, sorry to cut you off, but I think it's kind of like, with I think that's a perfect example of I think LeBron kind of falls under that category after he left Cleveland first time around for the Miami Heat and won 2 or 3 championships there, comes back to Cleveland, wins a championship, and now he's got a championship with the Lakers. I mean that I don't know if LeBron would I don't know if LeBron would fit in that category, of getting paid a lot, and I honestly don't know how much how much the Lakers are paying him right now. And I see James Gonzalez says I wish Mike yeah.
Yeah. So the thing about what he mentioned, right? And I said there's loyalty, and then there's loyalty to an extent. Look at Bradley Beal, Taylor, for instance. I hate crossing sports, but he was with the Wizards for so long, and unfortunately, the Wizards were just in a purgatory, year by year type of thing where they just weren't winning anything. So I know people love to kind of super team join these teams, but he went to essentially from purgatory where he essentially put everything, his guts and willingness essentially to put everything on the court to a Suns team where they have a chance to win a championship. That's obviously something where you're like, okay, finally. Look at Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard was a long-term, well-known Portland Trailblazer, but unfortunately, they're such a young team, and he is just like, I'm almost at the end. He's not really at the end of his career, but you just want guys essentially, if they're in their prime, to be in a place where you can succeed. And so essentially, he went to Milwaukee,
to mesh up with Giannis.
Mesh
together with Giannis. Yeah,
that's essentially what he was saying with Mike Trout, because there was even rumblings with Mike Trout this past offseason where he might be moving on after Ohtani, because obviously Ohtani moving on, it's like, oh, what's next with the Angels? And obviously he, I think, likes being with the Angels. I think just his overall, him kind of having that A on his jersey. But I also think it's just him. I think he's probably going to wait out for a couple more years and see in terms of where this thing goes before he moves on. I really think that's pretty much inevitable in probably a couple of years. That, yeah, I mean, like you were saying, James, he's scared to be a winner and a leader. But I also think specifically, too, he just has to consistently stay on the field. As kind of crazy to think as it is, he just has not been able to stay on the field. And that's why I think that there's a lot of teams that are just hesitant to be like, wow, yeah, Mike Trout's, of course, one of the best players to play in the game. But as I've heard from a lot of Patriots in the past, your availability is your best availability. That's essentially being on the field and being able to be productive when you can be able to play. So that is that. Now let's go to basketball, Taylor. And like I said, thank you for joining, Taylor. We'll probably have you on until Isaiah comes back on here. So while Isaiah is still coming back from where he's coming from, I will kind of get you some quick things in basketball. Did you watch the All-Star Weekend festivities at all this weekend? I know for some people could hate it. Some people don't really care about it. I watched a little bit of it.
Well, yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I don't know. To have captains these days, I just don't think it's fair, because with me being a Sacramento Kings fan and to leave guys like De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis out of it, they're having all-star caliber seasons again, and to leave them out of the all-star game, I don't know. Sacramento just got back on the map in terms of being a contending team, and so but on the bright side, we did have a player in the Rising Stars Challenge in Keegan Murray. So that's a bright spot, because that just shows the Kings are starting to come of age. They went from that they've already been up. They went down, but now they're on the rise again, especially after they made the playoffs for the first time in 16 years last season. Isaiah's back on, but I could stay with it's okay. Is it okay if I stay while Isaiah's here?
You could stay on throughout the rest of this NBA segment for sure, and then I'll probably get Isaiah just me and Isaiah kind of after the fact, because there were some things I want to kind of talk about that we talked about, Taylor, already. So like I said, thanks for coming on, Taylor, and we'll definitely keep you on throughout the rest of the segment, but I do want to have Isaiah just me doing the rest of the show with him after, to kind of discuss some things that I didn't get to discuss with him before.
Okay.
But yeah, just
Yeah, but as I was okay, well, anyways, back to what I was saying, with the Kings, with the Sacramento Kings being, back in the late 90s, early 2000s with Chris Webber and Jason Williams, and then with Vlade Divac and Mike Bibby and Peja Stojakovic. Well, of course, at that time they had a really great coach in Rick Adelman, who was what made him successful is that he was great at adapting to the changing game situations. All the other coaches after him and before Mike Brown, not so much, which is why the Kings have missed the playoffs for the past 16 seasons up until last season when Mike Brown came in. And I think where I've seen him is I think he's kind of like Rick Adelman a little bit. I think he's kind of good at adapting to the changing game situation as well. And which is why, and not to mention him, helping guys like De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis and there and Keegan Murray. I think those three guys are kind of like the new. I think they're the new big three for maybe make it four if you add Harrison Barnes to the mix, but the Kings, though I think this is definitely the new C Webb and Mike Bibby and all those guys. This is probably today's version of those guys. So, it's they're back and they're probably going to be successful for the next long time. And not to mention Mike Brown, I remember him being an assistant coach with the Warriors.
Yep.
So I'm guessing what he taught, Curry and Clay, he's doing the same thing to Fox and Sabonis and all of them.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the Kings specifically, Taylor, I mean, obviously they're kind of an up and coming type team. It's going to take them a while to kind of be out on top, just because the West is so stacked, right? You of course have teams like the Suns, teams like even like the Warriors are kind of starting to hit. The Lakers obviously are kind of starting to hit their shot a little before the break. Obviously James, his Clippers have been playing fantastic before the break. With Harden, of course, kind of starting to kind of fill that void and really meshing with that team. So as great as kind of the Kings kind of great story has been, Taylor, they just had to kind of show in the playoffs to me to kind of prove their overall worth, because I think that they could be a team that's really good in the regular season. But they're just really, I mean, De'Aaron Fox, of course, is a very good player. Keegan Murray, of course, is a rising star. Kevin Huerter's a really good shooter. They got some pieces there. I'm not disagreeing, of course, that it's just a matter of putting it all together and, playing the best basketball when it matters most in the playoffs. So I think they'll be a playoff team. I really do. But time will tell in terms of where things go from there.
Yeah. Not to mention,
in terms of the All-Star festivities too, Taylor, though, I was going to ask you is, what do you think of everything else, in terms of the slam dunk and 3-point, everything else that you want to quickly get on your chest?
Oh, well, the 3-point contest. Well, that matchup between Stephen Curry and Sabrina Ionescu in the WNBA's New York Liberty. That was I think that was a good challenge to get get the females involved. Because the WNBA obviously does not get as much attention as the NBA does, as the men's NBA does, and to get the women, to get the ladies involved. And I heard news next year that Sabrina wants her and Caitlin Clark, who's in her senior season at the University of Iowa, I think.
Yep.
Or one of those schools. But
it's Iowa.
But she's one of the top women's basketball players and might be a high draft pick in the WNBA. So, which is why next season Sabrina wants her and Caitlin Clark to go up against Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So
it's gonna be in the Bay Area, so it's gonna be you guys' neck of the woods next year, which would be really exciting.
That would be something. Yeah, Splash Brothers against Splash Sisters, so to speak.
And
not to mention if Caitlin Clark does go to the Liberty and she meshes together with Sabrina, then it's officially Splash Brothers against Splash Sisters.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Isaiah, what did you think about All-Star Weekend?
Hey, what's up, guys? Great to see you guys again. Taylor, welcome to the program, man. It's been a while since you and I did a show together, so it's going to be a great night. You know, I thought the All-Star festivities were fantastic. I really liked the Sabrina and Steph duo, the shootout. I thought that was
That was so cool.
fantastic. I feel like they should do that a lot more often. Like bring something from the men's and the ladies side, and just like have them go against each other. I thought that was perfect. Sabrina Ionescu is the Steph Curry of the WNBA. It just makes a lot of sense why she and Steph Curry battled it out against each other in the All Star the shootout because they're just both excellent shooters. And Sabrina Ionescu didn't even shoot from where the WNBA line 3-point line is. She shot from the NBA 3-point line, which made her performance even more impressive. So, yeah, she's definitely a star. Everybody, I feel like a lot of people didn't really know her before this 3-point shootout, but definitely a lot of people know who she is now, and I think it will definitely bring a lot of attention to the WNBA for sure. So that was definitely fun. I watched the Steph versus Sabrina shootout. I was looking forward to it, and it definitely lived up to the hype. I think Curry won on the final Moneyball. I think that's how he won it.
He won by, I think, 4 points because Sabrina had the first 7 shots that he had were mixed, and then she kind of fell a little bit mid part, but then the second half she played fine. It's like you went against one of the best scorers to ever score. I mean, it's just like she came up short, but the thing about it though, Isaiah, is she did better than a lot of the 3-point contestants, which is crazy to think.
Yeah, and Isaiah, yeah, you were actually right. Curry actually did win with the Moneyball rack because with those, yeah.
Yeah, so that was definitely epic, and it lived up to the hype. In terms of the slam dunk contest, number one, I think my biggest takeaway from the slam dunk contest was I'm proud of Jaylen Brown for actually doing it because not a lot of stars of his caliber actually do it. So for him to do it was fantastic, and him and Mac McClung put on a show in the final round. Like I like Mac McClung's dunk over Shaq. That was great. I love Jaylen Brown's dunk. So yeah, I mean, I disagree with a lot of the fans. I think the dunk contest was actually a good show. Also, I think my biggest takeaway from the dunk contest was why is Mac McClung not signed to an NBA team? Like, why is he in the G League, man? Like this dude, there's like I think 410 players on an NBA roster. Like each team is 15, and then you have two-way contracts for both for every NBA team. Mac McClung, you cannot tell me he is not a top 410 basketball player in the nation. I mean, this guy definitely belongs there. He should be on an NBA team's roster. It sucks that he's in the G League. I mean, the kid can ball. He's got great hops. I was telling James on the phone the other day, I really think this offseason, I think the Clippers should bring him in because, I mean, he can be your point guard off the bench, or he can replace Russell Westbrook. He kind of reminds me of a younger version of Russell Westbrook, very athletic, uses his athleticism to his advantage, and, really helps his game. He's not a really good shooter, but he can just get to the hoop. He's a really good dunker. I think that's where he should go. I think he definitely models his game after Russell Westbrook, and there definitely is a place in the NBA for him, and that's not the G League. So I hope someone does sign him. In fact, I want the Lakers to take a look at him. I mean, we had him, I think, in our summer league. Him and Austin Reeves, they were a fantastic combination. Maybe you bring those two back just in case D'Angelo Russell goes into the slump that he has in the past. So definitely would like to see Mac McClung in the league. And then the regular 3-point contest, I mean, that was definitely fun. Damian Lillard solidified himself as one of the greatest 3-point shooters we've ever seen. So that was fun. I don't know about the game though. Let me say this about the All-Star
Not
game.
it. Oh God.
I don't know have you guys touched on the All-Star game yet? I don't know if you guys have or not. But
it's so awesome. It's
Yeah,
not
go
just
ahead.
about that.
Go ahead, Ben.
I was gonna say I really want to just get this off my chest. The All-Star game for years now has lost a touch. I mean, teams are averaging 140, 150. The East scored 200 points tonight. There's just no defense. There's no intensity. Like the MLB at least for a little bit of the All-Star game. Whoever won that would have like home field in the World Series. There's none of like the stakes. I think for the NBA players, it's just like we're just not gonna get hurt. We're just gonna kind of pretty much play pickup basketball, have a good old time, and just pretty much put on primetime TV and call it a day. That's pretty much it.
Let me say this about the All-Star game. This game, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's not like a competitive basketball game because nobody plays defense whatsoever. Like there was one play where I don't know if I watched this correctly, but Trae Young was being guarded by both Kevin Durant and Luka Doncic, and somehow, some way, he's being guarded by both of them. Those two guys let him go in the middle between them for an easy layup. Like how? How do you not move? Especially if you're Luka, how do you not move a couple of inches next to Kevin Durant to block that from happening? So for that to happen, like that just shows you how that the All-Star game is not serious. But in terms of the All-Star game, my biggest takeaway was this: LeBron James, Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Kevin Durant was all on the Western Conference team, right? They were all on the Western Conference team. How on earth do you lose to the East and get not only
we rock,
lose?
that's why we own.
You got blasted by the East.
I know.
Despite having LeBron, AD, Kevin Durant, Booker, Steph Curry, Luka, Nikola Jokic as well. Like it's like the 1992 Dream Team losing to the B team in the 1992 selections. Like it's just like it can't happen. Like how does that even happen? Like I don't understand that whatsoever. Exactly. I got a crazy take. I think
neither team doesn't care.
I think for tonight's despicable performance, I really think LeBron, Booker, Steph Curry, Jokic, Towns, all the All-Stars in the West, I really think they should have their All-Star honors stripped away from them. I mean, the fact that you lost and got blasted by the East, who, let's face it, is unfortunately like less talented than the West, like and you lost by like what 22? Like it's terrible. That they couldn't even
more than 200 points.
Yeah, like exactly.
They don't like I said, Isaiah. They don't play defense, so it's like it's hard to gauge specifically the talent really in the All-Star game. It's talent on both sides, and when you don't play defense, it's like you can't really gauge. Like James was saying right here, Cat had 50 points and it was an effort, and it's because the other team you don't play defense. It's like all right, me, you, and James are gonna go out and play a game of pickup basketball, and we'll play Taylor. We'll play let me think. Two other guys, Taylor, two of your best friends, and we're like, well, we'll play 4 quarters, 12 minutes, and we'll see in terms of we'll have Steven. Steven will be on Taylor's team. We'll just play pickup basketball. That's essentially what the All-Star game is at this point in time. There's no physicality here and there. We probably could put up a better fight than what the All-Star game was tonight. And we're not even pro basketball players. So that's pretty much just says it all.
Yeah. And then I was also mentioning this, Isaiah, before you came on. There some of my I have some guys on 2 guys on my Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. They're having all-star caliber seasons, and yet they got snubbed. And on the note of defense, De'Aaron Fox, I think he's among one of the top 5 or 10 in the NBA in steals or something. So, and I can only imagine if Fox, if he was in this game, he probably would have, as they call him, swipe of the Fox, just swipe the ball away from an Eastern player's hands and take it back the other way for a fast break.
Yeah. All right, Taylor. Like I said, it was great to have you on the program, my guy. And, obviously we'd love to have you. We'd love to talk some hockey with you for sure. Because I know I haven't gotten the chance to talk hockey with you. So when you get the chance to, let me know. But like I said, thanks for coming on the program.
Okay.
And me and Isaiah will we'll take it away from here.
I'll let you know when the next face-off is too. So, and not to mention my phone's about to die. So,
all right, well, perfect,
all right,
perfect timing. All right, see you, Taylor. Thanks for coming on. All right, well, we had Taylor hold the fort when you were gone. So since we have you now back on here, Isaiah, like I said, we're pretty much in our last segment of the show. I did obviously want to kind of get your overall quick takes on the trade deadline, how you felt about your overall team, the trade deadline, and then I do obviously want. I would say the prediction for second half probably next week or the next show, which might be at the end of the week. I did obviously want to kind of get into some really quick baseball stuff, and of course the shooting reaction with you because I of course talked about that, but I want to get your overall stance on it, and then we'll probably call it a show. In terms of the Lakers and their trade deadline, I know you spoke it highly off the air, but obviously with this second half approaching now, with the All-Star game festivities over, how do you feel about your Lakers?
Believe it or not, Ben, I feel fantastic about the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers look like they've turned their season around. They've won 6 out of 7 entering the All-Star break, and the teams that they beat aren't like scrubs. You know, yeah, they beat the Pistons, they're bad, but you look at the Jazz. The Jazz are in contention for a play-in spot. They beat Golden State. You know, I don't want to bring up some old wounds, but they beat, you know, your Celtics without LeBron and AD. In TD Garden, they beat the Knicks. Like, they beat a lot of good teams that are vying for, you know, top spots in the East. And so I was very impressed. They beat the Pelicans as well, who's the 5th spot in the West right now. You know, I feel really good. And I think it was great that the Lakers won their last game in Utah before the All-Star break because they went because it's better to be 30-26 at the half than be 29-27. There's just something different about being the 30th number than being 29-27. And Ben, you might call me crazy as heck, but I really think that the Lakers are in the same position as the Celtics in terms of being a top contender in their respective conferences. I really think LA's figured it out. You know, Darvin Ham has finally stopped, you know, tinkering with the lineups and gotten with what's worked. I mean, he's gone to a starting lineup with D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, Rui Hachimura, and Anthony Davis. That's the lineup that got us to the Western Conference Finals last year and got us to be one of the hottest teams. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree. I mean, obviously, it's just a matter in terms of can they be consistent and then can they ride? Because essentially, that second half, Isaiah, they kind of pretty much did what they did kind of leading up to at the All-Star break is they played their best basketball. It's all about momentum right at the end of the season to lead to the playoffs, essentially. And that's what they did last year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it comes down to this. Can D'Angelo Russell stay hot? I mean, he's been red hot the last month and a half. And that's what really has propelled the Lakers. And if he can stay hot, that is big because that's what we were missing last year when we played Denver, is that D'Angelo Russell was nowhere to be found. And he went ice cold at the wrong time. And we were missing that like third quote unquote all-star caliber player to do something for us. If he had, the Lakers, I think, would have been in the finals last year had D'Angelo Russell shown up, but he didn't. But now he's showing up. He's doing a lot of great stuff. I think that for the Lakers, getting Spencer Dinwiddie, and I know we'll talk about that later on, but that was huge because now you have a guy, an insurance policy, just in case D'Angelo Russell starts becoming the D'Angelo Russell from last year. It doesn't show up and, you know, goes into his ice cold spells, which we all know that he's going to at some point in time. So you have that to help. You have Dinwiddie to help fill in for Russell if he starts slumping, but I think the Lakers season, it all comes down to D'Angelo Russell. If he can stay healthy, if he can be consistent, if he can just stay hot, I don't see why the Lakers won't, at least go back to the Western Conference Finals, given the fact that they have the same roster, a little bit better as well. And, you know, Anthony Davis and LeBron James are not hurt this year, and they're playing at a really high dominant level. So I'm very optimistic about the Lakers. And I know I was very pissed off about them not doing anything at the deadline and them saving their pieces, but hey, they got Spencer Dinwiddie, and I consider that a trade deadline-ish acquisition. and he was one of the top names out there on the market. So for us to get him on a buyout, maybe we'll pick up Joe Harris or Seth Curry, who knows, depending if they got bought out or not. But yeah, things are definitely looking right for the Lakers. And I want to give James a shout out. He said the Lakers should play Jackson Hayes more. And the Lakers actually have been playing him a lot more, and he has looked like the second coming of JaVale McGee out there when JaVale McGee played for the Lakers, and he's actually balling right now, getting a lot of rebounds, defending the paint. When Anthony Davis goes to the bench, like we don't miss a beat when Anthony Davis goes to the bench, and I think that's huge for the Lakers that they have Jackson Hayes.
And the thing is, well, as much as I wouldn't say disagree with terms of the Lakers being kind of at the Celtics peak, but I do think that they can give some Western teams a run for their money like they did last year. And it's also LeBron James's free agency upcoming, type of offseason. So he's going to be playing, I think, highly motivated the second half of this season. And, they essentially wrote off that great way that they had leading up to the All-Star break. It's a matter of can they ride it after the All-Star break, because that's that's all right, James. But yeah, no, we'll have to see specifically in terms of where things go from there. In terms of my Celtics, I thought the Celtics they were kind of quiet, but they made some too quiet, really impacted moves. I thought personally, they really just kind of need some bench help, and they did. They got two guys. They got Xavier Tillman, who was from Memphis, kind of a solid big man, probably play around 5-10 minutes a game, but it could probably give you a really good 5-10 minutes a game. And then they kind of went under the radar and went with Jaden Springer from Philly, kind of a high flyer, but I don't know how Philly fans kind of think about him. I know that some liked it, some didn't like him. Obviously, moving on from them, but I think that Springer could give us some really good defense off the bench. It's just kind of another swing guy, that can play within 10-15 minutes a game. So, obviously, kind of looking outside of our two teams, Isaiah. What's one team that you thought that had a really good trade deadline? I know obviously there wasn't a lot of big time names that moved guys like DeJounte Murray. Zach LaVine obviously is out for the year, but for me specifically, I look at a team like the Knicks. The Knicks, I think specifically, is going to give East teams hell. I know obviously in the playoffs specifically, they haven't been consistent, but I really respect in terms of what they've been doing. They got Alec Burks back from them, from the team. They obviously moved on from Quentin Grimes, but Burks and Grimes are kind of similar players. Outside shooters, kind of inconsistent, but really good when they're on. And they also got him Bojan Bogdanovic, which I think is a fantastic piece from the Pistons. So the Knicks, to me, I think, are kind of the team that really stood out. Who's the other team that stood out to you at the deadline?
For me, the deadline, I agree with you. I think the Knicks definitely stood out. I thought Bogdanovic was not going to be traded at all by Detroit. For him to get traded, I mean, that was huge. The Knicks land a guy who's a really good defender. He can shoot it from the outside. He can drive it in. He's a really good underrated passer as well. So that's a great acquisition by the Knicks. In terms of the other moves, you wouldn't expect them to be a winner, but I really like what the Charlotte Hornets did in helping their team for the future. I mean, they traded away Gafford, they traded away PJ Washington, two players that probably weren't going to be on their team next season. And then they bring in Seth Curry. They needed shooting from the outside. They bring him in. Seth Curry played, his dad, Del Curry, played for the Hornets in his career. And now Seth is going to be playing for the Hornets. So that's a great homecoming story. With Seth, with LaMelo there.
They brought in also my former Celtic, Grant Williams.
Yeah, Grant Williams as well. That was another huge acquisition, too. Young guy, defender. I mean, that's what the Hornets needed. And I think they're setting themselves up for the future really good. In terms of, like,
Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was kind of sneaky. He went to OKC, right?
Yeah, Gordon Hayward. Yeah.
That was sneaky as, what? Yeah, because I don't think that Gordon Hayward, I mean, people are thinking, he's not going to be Utah Gordon Hayward because he's just dealt with so many injuries, but he could be somebody. I mean, that OKC team is really young. I just think that it's a great fit there.
I agree. That's definitely a good move for OKC. He'll help them in the playoffs for sure, especially when things get bogged down and they need some offense. Since they have a lot of young pieces, so that's definitely going to help. Um, and you know what? I don't want to be biased, but I got to give the Lakers credit. I mean, everybody was ripping them for not doing anything, but they waited it out. They waited for Dinwiddie to get released, and he got released, and they signed him. And you're only paying him $1 million this season for the rest of the year, but he's a great bench piece. He can give you, when he's healthy, he can give you like a guaranteed 17 points off the bench. I mean, he could be your next Lou Williams.
100% for sure. All right, let's get into kind of the other topics that I did mention, Isaiah. Really quick before we get to finish the show. So I want to quickly ask you about the shooting incident at the parade, the overall reactions to it, and just I know obviously I kind of mentioned about it in terms of just the overall disheartening, just absolutely just it really was tough to see, and it's just the matter in terms of these events just keep unfortunately happening time and time again, and there's just really no kind of I don't say cure for it, but it's just like you just never kind of know in terms of where you might be and something like this might happen. It's absolutely insane to think and as I say, pray for your like everybody that you're with, your loved ones, hug your loved ones, tell them that you love that. Sorry, I can't talk right now. Tell them that you love them, and just absolutely, it sucks. It really does. After a great celebration that they had early on the day.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you say there. It sucks. It's sad. And, I did catch when I was going home, I did catch some of what you had to say about it. You're right. You can't go anywhere now without the threat of being shot. And, it's like we're living in a war zone. I mean, it really, really is scary and really, really is so sad. I mean, this was a parade. This was like a championship. Your team just won the championship. The whole city is celebrating right now, and then for this to happen, I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw on Twitter that it had happened. And to make things worse, like people that were shot, most of them were kids. Like
Yeah, I did not
it's
mention that.
just
Yeah, it's
just so
unbelievable.
disheartening. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
and
so sad, so sad.
I will say this though, and I hate to give credit with unfortunate situations, but how about the doctors and all essentially the medical people that consistently, time and time again, have to deal with things like this because they're probably just like, I don't want to keep dealing with this, but they're just like, we're true heroes. We're essentially going to save people's lives. And I just think people just can't give them enough support. Like, you just kind of have to be like, man, like, after essentially what happened there. And another thing, too, that I did not mention is I know that obviously the shooting was horrific on all levels, but on my other show I was doing earlier tonight, somebody was saying if there was a guy that did not tackle specifically one of the shooters throughout the parade, it could have been 100% worse. Not saying it wasn't already worse as it was, but think about that. A guy essentially that for people that say move out of this situation, run or hide and stuff. There was this one guy that's just like, nope, I'm gonna go tackle essentially that guy. And talk about he should be getting Chiefs season tickets for that. I mean, that was absolutely ballsy, but man, he got that guy. That was crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna give him credit. I forgot about that, but yeah, the guy that tackled that member of the shooter. What a courageous effort. The guy. I forget. Like, yeah, he should be getting Chiefs season tickets. Definitely, maybe dinner with Patrick Mahomes and some of those Chiefs. Chiefs players. But I think he should be getting a Medal of Honor from the president. I think that what he did was just legendary, and you're right, he saved like hundreds and hundreds of lives that could have been lost had that shooter not been tackled. Oh, Ben, I think you're muted.
Thank you. In terms of let's go to some baseball stuff. I obviously kind of talked about already when you were out the air. What are some storylines in terms of baseball that you want to try to follow as we have some spring training coming up?
Yeah, I mean, baseball is back. I think the games actually start this
Thursday.
week, this
Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah,
Yeah,
is
college
when the
baseball
first.
already, by the way. Which, by
I
the
know.
way, I have to watch on ESPN Plus, but people that love baseball, the college baseball should be on ESPN and places where
Exactly.
you can actually watch. It's like for baseball fans, they should not have to pay to watch it. Thankfully, I have ESPN Plus, but let's be real. Come on.
No, I completely agree. I mean, it's crazy that the baseball off season, it felt like it was so short, to be honest. It felt
It
like the
was
season ended with the Rangers winning like what, a month ago, and now here we are with another season. I mean, I can't wait for the spring training games. In fact, Ben, I was actually thinking because I have I think in mid-March, I have a couple of or like 3 days off. I was thinking about flying to Arizona and actually just having a whole like couple days where I'm just gonna watch baseball and eat and sleep. Like that's just all
sounds
my life is
awesome.
gonna be. I'm thinking about living the ultimate spring training life because I've always wanted to
Like,
do that before. I've never had the chance. I know a lot of people have done it before. Like they go to games in the morning, they get breakfast at the stadium, and then once the morning game finishes, they go to a game in the afternoon, and then they get lunch there, and then they watch the game, and then come back for dinner, and then after that it's game at night. So, and the stadiums in Arizona, I don't know about Florida, but I know the stadiums in Arizona are like right next to each other, or like not next to each other, but they're like walking distance or like driving distance. So I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about going to Arizona, having a spring training, week, just immerse myself in baseball, and just going to game after game after game. And I think I was looking at the schedule today. So the on March the 12th, the Giants and Bob Melvin, they play in the morning, and then the Rangers play at 1 p.m. and then the A's have a night game. So I was thinking about just hitting those three up at the same time in the same day, and maybe getting Corey Seager's autograph. Who knows? Or maybe Bob Melvin's autograph. Who knows? But yeah, definitely very exciting. I think the storylines I'm looking forward to is, number one, I think someone mentioned this in the comments I was looking at is where are the remaining free agents going to sign? I think that's really hovering over a lot of the spring training festivities. Is that Chapman hasn't signed yet? Like you just don't feel like that the off season is over. Like there's so many great free agents that just haven't signed yet. A lot of great players that haven't been traded yet. Like you feel like that the winter has just bogged down so bad that it just doesn't feel like baseball's off season is over and and baseball's here. So definitely we're Chapman, Snell, but Bellinger, where they all land. The other storylines I would probably, look out for is, I want to see, like, I was very happy that the Giants got Bob Melvin from the Padres. That was a move that I thought was one of the biggest moves of the offseason because he's a really, really good manager. And I think that the Giants upgrading, going to Bob Melvin from Gabe Kapler, that's a massive upgrade. So I want to see Bob Melvin's first spring training with the Giants and how that Giants vibe is, because you could just tell last year that the Giants vibe was just down. It was broken. Like it just felt like that Gabe Kapler, and he's not a bad guy, but I call him the human robot. Like he kind of just feels like a robot, and he doesn't use I don't know, his personality just wears down on teams, and then after a few years, you just see the players just being like, yeah, I mean, we don't want to play for him anymore. It's like we're all just robots now. Like it's not fun. Like, but now with Bob Melvin, like you get that human element to it. So very interested to see that. And then I would say the other one, I know MLB's Twitter and Instagram is all about the Dodgers. It's all about Yamamoto. It's all about Otani. That's what I've been seeing left and right. So that's a team definitely will keep a look at. And then the other storylines I would probably say is, how the Rangers are going to deal with the
I
rotation
was
because
just going to ask you that.
yeah.
What's your confidence right now? Because James was actually asking me where I think Montgomery's going to land. And I said the Phillies because I think that the Phillies have been really, really quiet. They don't know specific. They don't know. They don't know specifically about Zach Wheeler in terms of his free agency the next season. So if you get Montgomery, you can get him for maybe a short-term 3 to 4 year type contract. You can pair him with Nola and really not miss a beat in terms of a good 1-2 in your rotation. But even if Montgomery did not go to the Phillies, I mean, it's really, I would say, between us and the Phillies because, I mean, I don't know about Texas right now. I mean, it sounds like Chris Young feels like that team is ready to be done with. I really think it's the Phillies because I just don't trust the Red Sox to spend. I mean, I think that really they're kind of more a rebuild type team, and I think Montgomery wants to go to a team that wants to win now. So, how do you feel?
And I mean, I'm glad that you brought up Texas and Montgomery because I think there was a comment earlier from when I was looking through the comments about, um, Texas being done spending money, and that they're not going to make any significant moves. When your team wins, when the Rangers win a World Series or any team wins a World Series, you don't really call them out, right? The next season after that because they're the world champs. But I think Chris Young is an idiot. I think the Rangers, I really don't know what they're doing. I mean, the Texas Rangers, you literally just won the World Series. You have half your team under contract and under cheap contract for the next 5 to 7 years. The Houston Astros, they just lost a bunch of players. Bregman's in his final year. Altuve, I know, got a massive extension, but he's up there in age now. Verlander, he's probably got 1 or 2 years left. He didn't even look that good in the ALCS. He looked very hittable.
He might be down, by the way. There was some news about Verlander where he might not be pitching early on in spring training. There might have been some things kind of similar to the Mets last year with them.
Yeah, I just feel like the Astros right now are in that time where it's they've had a great run, but it's all good things come to an end. I just feel like they're kind of at that time where they're going down. And Texas is that young team. You just won it. You have all this talent coming back, and they're going to get even better and better and better, like Evan Carter. And so why are you not spending money? Why are you not upgrading the rotation? Because I can tell you right now, the Rangers rotation is going to be why the Rangers are 15 games out of first place by the end of June. Because, I mean, are you really telling me with DeGrom and Scherzer being out for until June, July, or August to start the year, that your rotation right now for Texas is going to be Nathan Eovaldi, who is a stud. But after that, after Nathan Eovaldi, it's going to be John Gray, who's more like a fourth starter. You can't depend on him. Tyler Mahle, who's coming off Tommy John surgery. Andrew Heaney, James's guy, and Dane Dunning. Those are guys that are they're good, but they're not supposed to be in those roles. So for the Rangers to not even spend money, despite the fact that the Rangers, great team, they, just won it. What are they doing? I don't even know what are they doing. They could have, if the Rangers had gotten Ohtani, that would have been their Kevin Durant, to the Golden State Warriors, but they didn't. But now for them not even to get Montgomery back or to get someone else back, I get they have Bruce Bochy, but I mean the talent is just not what it was, and you could have made a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs-like run in baseball, because right now you just have all these guys, all these other teams, they have a lot of flaws. So if the Rangers actually went for it, they would be leaps and bounds over everybody else. But now, I don't know. I think the rotation is going to be a major issue with Texas. And if they don't get another quality starter or two quality starters, because you can't rely on DeGrom or Scherzer to come back at this point with their careers, I could see Texas missing the playoffs.
That'd be tough. I mean, especially with the way things go. But you look at teams that win the championship, they have a monkey off their back, and everybody's going to give that team the best shot. And we'll have to kind of see specifically where things go from there. So we'll have to see. But with that being said, that's going to do it for our show. Really quickly, some final thoughts. We obviously got a lot of great comments, especially from our good friend James, who hopefully be feeling better and be able to come back for our next show. He did have a quick question for you, although, Isaiah. Do you think that your A's will finish over your Angels this year?
I do believe so because the A's, unlike the Angels, and I don't want to take a shot at James, but I mean,
Whoa.
it's been bad for the Angels. Like I heard a little bit of what Taylor had to say. I disagree with them making the playoffs. I can't see that at all. Um, the Angels, and this is what should infuriate Angels fans. Artie Moreno said this the other day, and I said this to James, that the Angels, it sucks that Otani left, and the Angels are going to be spending or going to be operating at a much lower payroll than they have had in like the past 5 to 10 years.
Oh, that sounds like a team that I support too. Welcome to the club. Sam Kennedy said that the exact same type of thing, that they're operating like they're thinking that the payroll is going to be lower next year than what we just did. So welcome to the club, James.
Yes, welcome to the club, James. I mean, it's like all of our teams are just operating in the Moneyball era. Like, we're just so cheap. We don't want to spend money. We get these players off the scrap heap.
It's like that meme, like that pointing meme, like that three guys that have the pointing meme. That's essentially our baseball teams right now. It's like who essentially is going to make that next move? A big move too.
Exactly. But I mean, James, I think that this is the year the A's finish ahead of the Angels. I think the Angels sadly are, on the downturn. The A's, I mean, they have a lot of good young talent with Geloff and Butler. Like, I think Geloff can make a move for maybe Rookie of the Year. I do like the A's. You know what? The A's actually made some moves, believe it or not, this offseason. I mean, we got Ross Stripling. We got Alex Wood. Like, those aren't like big names, but they're solid. They can be solid. Like, they're definitely better than what we have in our starting pitching from last year. I mean, Ben, look at our starting rotation from last year. It was literally like our starting rotation was a guy named Adam Aller, who's in Korea now. Kyle Muller, who was one of the top players in the Matt Olson trade. He got DFA'd this offseason. He had a 7.38 ERA.
Blackburn. You saw Blackburn.
Blackburn. Yeah, we had Blackburn. But that's like, I think we had Blackburn.
Traded, though, by the deadline. Let's be real.
Yeah, probably. And then we had some dude named Luis Medina from the Yankees we got in the
Montage. He went crazy against the Red Sox, I remember last year, like randomly. I remember that name.
Yeah. He had one crazy game, I remember. And then I think the other this just shows you how irrelevant the A's rotation was. Is that I don't even remember half the guys on the team. I think we had, if I'm not mistaken, I think last year I know at one point our closer was Familia. That was to start the season. And then we released him in May. Even make a month, or he made only a month with the team. So I mean, they should be better, but I don't think playoffs. But I mean, it really depends. I think the A's will probably make another move, because the team is just not filled out. So, but please, I know James had this amazing clip where he was saying no for Joey Votto. Please, Athletics, do not get Domingo Germán. Please, for the love of God, do not get Domingo Germán, for goodness sakes. Oh.
And really quickly, speaking of the A's, really quick before we finish, there's been a lot of chatter with the A's in terms of them potentially staying put. Which I think would excite you to the max, especially with the news after the Niners lost in the Super Bowl. I kind of try to keep your spirits up with some of that news. And I remember the news when you heard that they were moving here and there, and you were absolutely distraught to the max. And now maybe that they're kind of thinking otherwise. So maybe one, why do you think that they're maybe kind of stepping back a little bit? And then two, how would you feel about this?
You know what? I don't really know because in terms of how I feel, I don't really know because I think that if they come back, right, it's just going to be because the thing with the A's is the ownership is just so incompetent. They probably would mess up ordering a order from McDonald's, legit. They are so incompetent. This whole Vegas plan, like Jeff Passan mentioned, has been messed up from the beginning. First, they go and like first they do this whole thing with Vegas. It was very sketchy from the beginning because they didn't have any ballpark. Like they had one ballpark plan drawn up, but then the money plan was like very very messed up, and they only approved it because Vegas was scared that Major League Baseball, if they had declined the A's, that there wasn't going to be an MLB team going to Vegas. And then you look at it now. Then the A's said for some reason that they were going to have a press conference to announce the whole Vegas move. That was supposed to happen like 3 months ago. It still hasn't happened yet because the ownership didn't like that. The plan for the ballpark, so they scrapped it. The ballpark drawing, they scrapped it. And then I heard the other day that they're trying to decide on some ballpark drawings and what it's going to look like. They still haven't figured it out. They're still trying to figure it out. Like the owner is so cheap to the point where they were supposed to build like the stadium on a 9-acre piece of land, which would have made it one of the smallest stadiums in all of baseball. And now like reports are that he's so cheap, the Oakland A's are considering not even putting a retractable roof on the stadium. Like you got to be kidding me! Like it's Vegas. Are people really going to sit in 115 degree, 120 degree sweltering heat just to watch baseball? Of course not. So like
you have to get a pool or something in your ballpark.
Yeah, exactly. And then now there's talks that the owner was because in the original agreement the owner was supposed to like fundraise a good portion of the money, but the owner can't even come up with his portion of the money. So it's just such a mess right now. John Fisher needs to be booted out of baseball. It's just like he just is so incompetent. He can't do anything correct. He can't even they approved the Vegas plan, and now all of it is just getting screwed up like every step of the way. Like it's that meme where it's like John Fisher or like there's like a dog sitting in a house with fires all over the place. Like that's what.
Oh yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, this is fine.
It's a total mess right now in Oakland, and like I don't know, like Jeff Passan said, I could see this if this gets messed up and all this gets crumbling down. Like I would not be surprised because the owner has messed this up from the get-go. There's been no backup plan. There's been no solid plan. It's just been messed up from the get-go. And I don't know. Like they were talking to Oakland about possibly coming back. I know the bridges were burned massively there. Also, there was talk that I think that they were going to come back and try to do an extension to stay in Oakland until they move to Vegas, but they didn't even have a backup plan from the get-go, like to where they're going to play before they move to Vegas. So now, and the lease is up after this year. So it's been a complete mess. And I mean, I honestly don't even know if, as an Oakland A's fan, if I even I do want the A's to stay in Vegas or stay in Oakland, but I don't know if I want them with this owner. I mean, this owner has shown time and time again. He owns the San Jose Earthquakes, the MLS soccer team. And, before they built that stadium, he said, if you build me a new stadium, I'm going to put a lot of money into this team and invest in it and get you the best players in soccer. They built him a stadium in San Jose next to the airport, and the Earthquakes right now, I think 10 years after opening that stadium, every year they've been ranked either dead last or fourth to the last in terms of payroll. I mean, it's a disgrace. The guy's a liar. He's a con man. And
the Sharks. I mean, I hate crossing sports, but the Sharks have been like one of the worst teams in hockey. Like the last, I don't know what's going on with the San Jose sports, Isaiah. I mean, so it's like you look at the Bay Area in sports. It's really just the 49ers. It's maybe the Giants. I mean, it's like, man, I guess the Warriors, but the Warriors are kind of more in their second dynasty part of their run, like the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everything else is like, this is fine. Not really.
I mean, the Sharks. I know the reason why I was laughing when you mentioned the Sharks is because I know they beat the Rangers that one a game I watched, which was epic, and then I went on live and proclaimed the Sharks to be back just to I didn't realize the record was one of the worst records in all of hockey. So.
I'll let it slide because you don't really, in terms of hockey, I say you don't really know much. No offense, but I'll let it slide because any time when the Sharks win for you, I bet it's probably a great moment because they don't win a lot. So I'll let it slide.
Yeah, they didn't win a lot, and I'm thinking of. Well, I am going to a Sharks game in a couple of weeks, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I hope they actually pull out a W. But
I'll hope they will for you. I will.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Exactly. I hope they do. All
right. Well, that being said, now really quickly we'll get to our final thoughts. It was a good show. It's good to be, like I said, it was really good to be back. It's been really a hot minute since we talked. Here we got a decent amount of comments here. Like I said, James, thanks for joining, my friend. Like hopefully we'll get to have you on pretty soon. Casey Kane, thanks Casey for coming on, talking some baseball. I'd love to see that. Seth as well, of course, chimed in earlier on. Isaiah, thank you for joining when you were off and before you came back on. So thank you for that. Taylor, thank you for coming on the program a little bit as a surprise guest. That was really, really awesome. And Isaiah, obviously, thanks once again for joining the program. And we'll try to have a show maybe later on this week, if not definitely early on next week. And obviously there's going to be a lot going on. I would like to start talking some college basketball in March Madness because that is going to be something that's going to be absolutely epic. Of course, March Madness is coming right around the corner. I mean, it's February 19th, Isaiah, but think about it. You have like one more week till it's pretty much the last weekend of February because February is only, 28, 29 days? I always keep forgetting like every year, like how many days February is. I just look at it because March 2nd is my birthday every year. So I'm just like, February, go away. I need March so bad. Because January, it's like you have that month of like, oh, man, you get past the holidays. It's kind of like that, whatever month. February, it's like, you have the Super Bowl. And then kind of after that, it's like, that little part. March, it's like, all right, awesome. You got NBA, you got March Madness, you got everything. That's kind of like my October. That's kind of like my October for you, Isaiah. It's like, I love March. It's my birthday. Just everything's kind of coming around. So, good show, and like I said, definitely I'll take it to you, my friend. Another thing about March Madness too is the reason why I'm happy is because how about them UConn Huskies? Yes, number one team in college basketball this past weekend. Marquette coming into our building in our state and showing who's boss. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit too hyped about it. But let's go.
Yeah, hey man, I'm so happy for you and the Huskies. I mean, they won the title last year, and they have shown no drop off this year, which is very impressive. But yeah, I mean, great show tonight. Glad to be back. I know we haven't done a show in forever, so it was great to get this program out to you guys. I know. Thanks to James, Casey. For tuning in. Casey's been a long minute since we've had you comment on the program, so thank you so much for commenting, my friend. If you ever want to come on, man, message me or Ben or James, and we'll definitely
talk some Dodger baseball with you and Laura.
Exactly, we'll talk some Dodgers with you and some Rams as well.
Even if I would not want to talk about the Dodgers, pretty much getting everybody, I'll still talk with you about it. It's more jealousy than not. No hate, Casey.
Yeah. Let's see. And then I think we had Seth join as well.
Yeah. Seth came on, during baseball's topic. So I appreciate that. Love to see that.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you, Seth, for joining. And I mean, he's a Royals fan. I think that's what I saw.
Yeah. Oh, that's news to me.
Hey, so, we've never had a Royals fan before, so definitely that's very interesting for sure. Hopefully the Royals are decent this year, not like last year.
I told him, he asked me the question in terms of how they'd be. I said, high 60s, low 70s, my ceiling for them. They had a sneaky good offseason.
Yeah.
I respect them in terms of a lot of small market teams. It's good to see them be good, especially could be good for baseball. It also sucks to see teams that are small market that don't care about their teams. Tom will tell about that, but
well, and also the Royals have one of the budding stars in baseball in Bobby Witt.
You got paid.
Yeah, paid a lot. So Definitely, he's gonna have a good year for sure. And yeah, appreciate Taylor for coming on. That was definitely a surprise. Didn't expect that, but great show. We definitely covered a lot. NFL, NBA, MLB got a lot off our chest. My final thoughts. I know Ben, you said March is definitely your favorite month. You forgot free agency in the NFL as well with March.
We'll do a show. We'll do
Yep.
a March Madness kind of. I don't say extravaganza. We could probably do that. We might do like a watch party possibly for March Madness, which I think would be really cool. But yeah, we'll definitely do like free agency special. That's obviously going to come up. Another thing, really quickly too, Isaiah, if you want to put in your final thoughts, obviously with the tag coming this week. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to mention real quick about that because I did kind of mention that really quickly.
Yeah, it's just so fast how the football off season is going. I mean, you have the tags coming on now. I don't know if the Chiefs can tag Chris Jones, but they should because if you let him walk out the door, your defense, he's already holding your defense up, and if he walks out the door, I don't know how you replace him. But yeah, it's definitely like this offseason. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of like crazy stuff go on because there's a lot of players that, that are young, that are due for big contracts that teams can't pay them. So they
Justin Jefferson's latest. I mean, that's he essentially that could get a really spicy part of the offseason. I mean, I'm seeing a lot there.
I do have seen that he has said that he's not going to sign an extension until he sees who the Vikings quarterback is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be interesting. Minnesota's definitely a team that I'm definitely watching this offseason. But, I mean, I could see, Ben, this is probably going to be a hot take. I think Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel, one of those two. I think they're traded.
Okay. I don't think it's as spicy as it is. It's actually funny because we on my other show we did like our NFL post recap, and we kind of went back and saw like our takes kind of from early on the season, and it's just so funny like the takes that I had. Like I predicted Aaron Donald, like my fiery hot take was Aaron Donald to the Eagles. I had Bryce Young in the Panthers in the playoffs. I mean that blew up in my face like crazy. I think out of the four that I had, the only one that I had right was Russell Wilson missed the playoffs. I didn't. My other one was the Eagles didn't have a Super Bowl hangar, which looked like pretty much good for so long early on, until they didn't. So that was pretty much that. But yeah, no, free agency should be really, really awesome for sure.
You know what's really funny and I think we're going to be doing we were supposed to do our Extra Point NFL wrap-up show this past week, but the schedule.
That's right. Yeah, we'll probably do that soon.
Yeah, we'll probably do it like in the next week or two, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. What's funny about the like going back on the predictions thing though is that I predicted Bill Belichick would leave the Patriots, and I don't know if I said this on the air, but I know I put it out there before. I think my bold prediction from last year was that Bill Belichick was going to leave the Patriots. He would be out as Patriots coach, and he would join the Niners as defensive coordinator.
That's crazy.
I remember I said that.
You have to go back and check that.
If that comes true, oh my God. Like, I would have predicted like the most absolutely insane prediction would have come true. Like that's crazy. But yeah. Oh.
All right, man. Well, that being said, thanks. Like I said, thanks for everybody that joined the program for tonight. We will get going. And Isaiah, unless you have anything else you want to quickly say before I get to the intro or extra now, everyone have a good night.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing about the programs. So Extra Point, expect a wrap-up show in the next week. I know I have a lot of free time next week or this upcoming week, so make sure you guys tune in for that. I know Laurel has been saying we're going to do a show next or this upcoming week, so I think we're probably going to do that one. And then in terms of the NFL free agency, we are behind the scenes. We have talked about maybe doing a free agency like watch party for when it comes out. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. That would be very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, and then obviously we'll have batter up and stuff with baseball, obviously kind of back already, and March Madness, of course, coming up. So you guys might think that it's sad that football season's over. We just keep on going here with the programs. And, of course, football offseason. We'll talk more about that as well, too. So with that being said, guys, like I said, thank you guys for joining the channel. Like I said, it's been a really hot minute, but glad to be back on here. Like I said, before we go and make sure to follow, like, comment, subscribe if you guys like what you guys saw tonight. Of course, I have my Twitter here down low for my personal stuff, but obviously on the socials on the network itself, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Of course, I think TikTok, we have some stuff there as well too. So without further ado, thank you guys for joining Kicking with Kruse, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you guys.
Oh my God! Big goal to go from the 2. Toss sweep one for James White. Cuts it up to the right arm. Cuts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. A touchdown and a title for the Patriots. I can't believe it. Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Puppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything's possible!